Ladies and gents, boys and girls, thank you very much for downloading the latest episode of the Untitled Film Podcast. Just before we get into the actual discussion with me and Lee, just wanted to give a little bit of a brief update about what could be happening with the podcast moving forward. So, as it stands, I'm having a few issues with my work life, having a forced relocation put on us because our company is sold out to another company, and also just found out that the landlord for the property that I'm living in at the moment has decided to sell the property out from under me. So I've been living in this current house for about 4 years, and all of a sudden the landlord has decided they've had a change of circumstances apparently, and decided to sell the property. So I am in the market for a new property. Not quite in the position to buy yet, which I was hoping to be by the end of this year, but, shit happens. So it looks like I'm going to have to be, making some sacrifices, possibly moving back home so I can finish off saving up for the deposit for a mortgage and then looking to buy my own place. So, the good news is that the podcast, I don't have any intentions of stopping doing the podcast. I think it's a really great way for connecting with an old friend in Lee, and making new friends, sitting down, having the guests that we've been having, Damien, Dean, hopefully Andy Godoy will be coming on in the near future, Chris Manning as well as Paul Monahan. Really enjoyed having, these guys on, having chats with them, and like I say, the main kind of goal was to set aside a couple hours every other week and have a chat with an old mate from work, and it's kind of found a small audience, and I appreciate every single one of you that's listened to the episode so far, and the feedback that we've had has been always been positive, so that's great. So I've got no intention of stopping doing the podcasts. However, with what's going on with work, it looks like I'm going to have to be moving potentially to a new job if I can't, remain at where I'm at. And obviously now I'm having to look for a new place to live. So that means that I can't commit to the irony, because we haven't really got a schedule. I try to put out 2 podcasts a month and, a few extras with the commentaries I've been doing, but I've not really been great at sticking to the schedule. So I don't know when I'm actually able to record in the upcoming weeks, possibly months. So whatever regular schedule that we intended to have in place is probably going to fall to the wayside. I have spoken to Lee, and I've told him that if he wants to do some podcast recording in the meantime with whoever he decides to get on, that's absolutely fine, and hopefully he'll be able to find the time to do that around his family. If not, then we'll kind of work it as best between ourselves. But just wanted to be completely honest with you guys, because it is a young podcast. I know we've only got a handful of episodes out so far, and like I say, the small audience that we have got so far, I just want to be open and honest, and let you guys know what's going on. The podcast is, gonna not so much go away, but I'm not going to be able to actually commit to recording while everything is up in the air. Hopefully, once I find a place to live, or either move back home and get the work stuff sorted, I can get back into a regular kind of recording routine with Lee, and start putting out content again. But that's where I'm up to at the moment. Obviously, it's a stressful time financially. It's an uncertain time, but it is what it is. So yeah, we've all got our problems. My problems aren't any greater than anyone else's out there. So it's just one of those things that life throws. The hurdles that life throws in your way. So yeah, if anything changes, then I'll do another update and let you guys know. And hopefully we'll kind of keep a semi-regular recording schedule going moving forward. Yeah, that's it. It sucks. I do apologise in advance. Hopefully, you guys will understand and stay with the podcast. That's all I can ask. And without further ado, we're going to get into the actual podcast now. I'm going to shut up talking and rambling and, woe is me. And enjoy this this latest episode where me and Lee look at John Wick Chapter 2. Thanks for your time, guys, and I will see you very, very soon. Choose life. Choose a job. Choose a career. Choose a family. Choose a fucking big television. Choose washing machines, cars, compact disc players, and electrical cinemas. Choose a podcast. Choose the Untitled Film Podcast. We're on.
Yeah, cool.
Have you been? What have you been up to?
So this is for people that who've been listening to me running conversation we've been having on here.
We've got Lee's jogging updates.
Yeah, jogging update, running updates. Yeah, so I did the Southport Half Marathon it wasn't last Sunday, Sunday before it was. And I beat my personal record as well, personal best record. Came in at 1:46.31, I think it was, when the previous record was 1:48. So I was chuffed because I don't think there's anything worse than finishing the race and then looking back at your time and thinking, I've not beat my previous time. I always try and better myself every time. So every race I've entered now, there's been a progression of always beat my personal best. So yeah. I'm chuffed with that. People have said, I bet you found it hard because of the heat and stuff, because it was a warm day. I said, no, it wasn't the heat I struggled with. It was the fact is the wind, because you'll probably know yourself, you've been to Southport when you've probably been a kid or recently and stuff. It's, on the route you take you on the run, you take you down the prom as well. So we went down the side of the prom for a good 4 miles, but the wind was blowing against us, and it was really taking it out of you, slowing you right down. Strong wind coming against you. So I had to battle that, and then.
So you're running into the wind.
Running into the wind, yeah, slowing me down. So that was.
Speaking, if it wasn't a windy day, then that personal best would have been even better.
Yeah, I'm hoping I probably would have shaved off a good few minutes. I think off the 1:46, I may have got it down to 1:40. That I don't know, but I think to myself, I probably would have got a better time. But it was funny because we got to this roundabout, we had to run around the roundabout and then back down. So the wind behind us, and I was running up, and the steward said to me, "Oh, well done." He said it to a lot of people. "Oh, well done, keep going. You've got the wind behind you now. You should fly down the road." And I was like a bullet then, because I've had the wind against me for a good 3 to 4 miles, and then went round the roundabout and the wind was behind me, so I was gone then.
Yeah.
And then I think I ran for a good solid mile then, and then it was back into the wind again. I was I thought I'd seen the back of this kind of thing, but back into the wind again. But overall it was a good race. 1:46.31 was my best, so best time to date. That. So I've got another. This Sunday I've got the Snowdon Marathon coming up. So me and my friend Chris are doing that one. That's going to be tough because it's all uphill. So anybody who's walked it up Snowdon or ran it up there themselves, they know it's going to be a tough one. Yeah. I've walked it up there twice within the last 10 years. And it was tough walking up there. So running is going to be really tough going. But looking forward to it anyway. It'll be a good day out, I think, and then get a medal at the end of it. And I'm not going for a personal best on this one. This is just a case of just get it done.
Yeah.
Get the bastard.
Survive it.
Yeah, survive it, experience it, and tell the story later on. So looking forward to it. And then movie-wise, I've been quite a busy time actually at the cinema recently. I've been and watched Toy Story 4 with my little girl, and went to watch Spider-Man Far From Home as well. All right. On the day of release, I think you did the same as well, didn't you?
Yeah, well, let's get into the movie talk then, I suppose, because I don't really want to get into all the shit that I mentioned in the Spider-Man video, but Toy Story 4. What did
Toy Story 4, Toy Story 4. I felt we didn't need it. I felt the third film wrapped it up. I didn't think we needed a fourth film. It was nice they did them little spin-offs, the Toy Story of Terror, and the other one they did. For half an hour long episodes they did a while back.
I've never watched any of those spin-offs. I very rarely, when like a movie franchise has one of those like directed DVDs or one of those like spin-offs that you see on Sky, I very rarely watch them. It's just not for me. I'd rather stick to the main stories. Do you know what I mean? The main.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, they were good actually because it was only short, so it was nice to see what the toys were getting up to.
Yeah,
handing it around and what adventures they were going with Bonnie. And they said they were only short, like half an hour long or something like that. So it's not like a chore to sit through. But regarding Toy Story 4, I just didn't think we needed it. I felt I didn't like Bo Peep either. I think because when you look at Bo Peep in the first two films, she's very like timid, and she very her movement, she moves completely different. In this, she's like I don't know, like the action star. You know what I mean? Saving the day.
Yeah, I mean, I get
Totally
I get what you're saying, but I think it's see on one side of me, I'm kind of thinking, this is a little bit cynical. They've done it just to jump on the whole kind of like strong female characters, female empowerment, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because that seems to be the way that Disney are going. Like Wreck-It Ralph 2 really kind of like hit that too hard over the head for me. You know, it was like, oh, anyone who's male is a complete doofus or an idiot, and anyone who's female is kind of like, you know, because you got that scene with all the Disney princesses, and you know,
oh yeah.
they're all just.
I've not seen the second film yet. I've seen the first one, but I have seen the trailer for the second film.
It was too in your face, kind of like, you know, men bad, women great kind of thing, and it's like, okay, I suppose I'll take it on the chin because most representation on screen has been about white males over the years and blah 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 blah, and I'll take that. But it just felt like they were hammering the point home. It's like, if you want equality, equality means just that. Do you know what I mean? If you want equal representation, it should mean you get equal representation. It shouldn't be equal representation, but we're gonna take some jabs at the, you know, the other side because they've had it so good for so long, kind of thing. And Wreck-It Ralph 2 felt like that for me.
Yeah.
I know it's just a dumb kids film at the end of the day, but you know, I really enjoyed the first film and what they did with that. And when the second film came around, it felt a little bit too much like it was trying to almost penalize me for being, you know, a white male, and I should be dumb. And I've never repressed women in my fucking life. I'm not in a position of power to actually do that. But you know, it's one of those things. So when I saw what they were doing with Bo Peep in Toy Story 4, and making her this kind of like kick-ass kind of, you know, survivalist, she's out for herself because she's had to look after herself and all this kind of stuff, I was like, are they going to go the same way as what they did with Wreck-It Ralph 2? But I thought they handled it a lot better. I actually quite liked, you know, turning Bo Peep into this kind of Indiana Jones, you know, scavengers, you know, it's like an adventurer. She looks after herself, and
so they did it better with Bo Peep in Toy Story than what they did with.
Well, I mean, the story's different kind of thing. It's not a one-for-one kind of like, you know, analog between the two films, but it just felt like, you know, they were hitting you over the head for being a bloke in, you know, Wreck-It Ralph 2, whereas in this one, you know, I think it was a little bit more even-handed how they were treating like female characters. It's good to see like strong female characters. There's nothing wrong with having female characters, but let's not forget there has been strong female characters. But now they're starting to get like shade thrown at them from, you know, all these feminists because they're saying that Linda Hamilton wasn't a strong female character in Terminator 2 because her character was written by a man, and I'm like, oh, for fuck, you just can't win. You know,
Wait, Terminator 1?
No, Terminator 2. Yeah, when she goes all buff and kick-ass. And, you know, Ripley, same thing. She was written by a man, so she can't be a strong female character. It's just like, come on. I go to the cinema to get away from real-world fucking bullshit and politics. I don't need that creeping into my films, and especially don't need that creeping into kids' films where I think it actually does a lot more harm than good because I understand what they're saying. You know, we're training kids from a young age to not take any shit and, you know, stand up for themselves and know their own self-worth. But when you're doing it at the expense of someone else, and in this case it's at the expense of the male characters in Wreck-It Ralph 2, I think that could be actually damaging, you know, for how, you know, kids or certain kids could take that message the wrong way.
I think as well, though, because Bo Peep, I think as well, that she'd... we've seen him in the first two films. She's completely different. It's like a total like 360 in it, how she acted in them two films to how she acted in this one. I mean, obviously she's gone through a lot of stuff in her story where she's left Andy's, and it's brought her to the point where she the character she is now. But still, it was a bit like, you know what I mean? Because I just kept thinking of how she was in 1 and 2, and thinking she's like the bit of the heroine in this film, and she's the hero.
Yeah. She's pushed forward in this film, and she's pushed forward at the expense of characters like Buzz, because like the first couple of the first 3 Toy Stories have mostly been centered around, Woody and Buzz.
Buzz, yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I felt like Buzz took the back seat in this one.
Well, to be honest with you, I thought all the main characters took the back seat.
Yeah,
The
pretty much.
like
Yeah,
Potato Head, Slinky. I know a lot of the voice talents have passed away now, haven't they? Said they passed away. I think Potato Head has passed, and
yeah.
Slinky Dog.
Don Rickles has passed, and Jim Varney. Yeah,
Yeah, but even Ham as well. Ham weren't in it much either, and that was a bit like, oh, you know what I mean? Because he's normally had some good, like one
yeah.
line.
Normally has a couple of one-liners here or there.
Yeah,
I think it was a passing
Jesse.
of the torch film. They wanted to push Bo Peep forward as one of the main characters, and obviously they wanted to round out Woody's story in a way, because he's no longer the favorite toy and all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah,
mild spoilers ahead here, people. But like you said, I didn't feel it was. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the film, and it did manage to drag some tears out of me towards the end of the film. But I felt Toy Story 3 ended the story of all of the toys that we'd known collectively for that point. 3 films, by passing Woody, Buzz, all of them from one owner to Bonnie, the next owner. And I didn't think we needed to see anything beyond that. It's not a bad film, don't get me wrong. I do like some of the new characters. I like the characters that Key and Peele play. The bunny and the duck.
yeah.
I quite like Forky. He was a little bit annoying at the beginning, but
He was a bit like a young kid, wasn't he? Cause
he kind of grows on you.
He's a likable character. I like the what they call Vincent, the dolls. They're a bit freaky looking.
Dolls.
Yeah, the puppet dolls.
The ventriloquist dolls.
Yeah, the movement of them, how they moved around with that. They kind of like, I don't know, they kind of like lean back, and the head swung around in their eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, and their eyes kind of like roll back, and the mouths just kind of slightly agape and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I actually quite liked Gabby Gabby, who is like the main villain, but not really a villain.
I thought she was going to be I thought she was going to be really nasty.
Yeah, I thought she was just going to be the bad guy, like the bear in Toy Story 3. What was his name?
Lotso.
Lotso, yeah. Lotso hugging.
Yeah.
Whereas they subverted that in a way and kind of like made her sympathetic and actually gave her a happy ending, which I really liked. She wasn't a villain. She wasn't a bad person. She was just misguided. In a way,
she just wanted a bit of love in it. Nice. Yeah. Well, how at the end of the film, how her story ended as well, where she went off with that little girl, didn't she?
Yeah, so I like that. So she was the antagonist for a good portion of the film, and then all of a sudden she kind of like you understand why she's doing what she's doing, and then she gets a happy ending.
Yeah. I didn't like the end, the part at the end as well though. With it was kind of felt a little bit rushed with like Woody saying bye to the Buzz and the gang.
Yeah,
that felt a bit like because we've been through them films with them, and then you thought it'd be a good, just kind of like right, okay. Yeah,
I think the problem with that is it came off the back of having kind of like that emotional resolution for Gabby Gabby's character, so it was kind of like tears, and then more tears. Yeah. But it came a little bit too close to having the resolution of her story, and it was just it almost felt redundant or a little bit too manipulative to kind of like drag more tears out of, because it did, it did make people cry in the cinema that I was in. I had a family sat directly to my left, one row back directly to my left. So if I just turned my head, I could see the dad sat at the end. He was crying because like he had two daughters and a young son who was like young. But the two daughters and the mother were taking the piss out of the dad because he was crying at the end of the film. So. It does obviously work, but it did feel a little bit unnecessary. We didn't really need it, and I think we're probably not done with Toy Story the way they've actually,
Yeah, I think they can go two ways, can't they? You've got obviously spoilers. They can go either the Woody way or they can go Buzz
or
way.
Both. I think both, and I think they'll probably do that maybe on DVD, like straight to DVD market, maybe. I don't know.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, would they give it another 10 years? Because it's been nearly 10 years, isn't it, between Toy Story 3 and 4?
Yeah, that's the problem with like this. This, not only has it come so long after Toy Story 3, which wrapped everything up so neatly, but they just left it far too long to release this. And arguably, between Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3, there was too much of a gap there as well. I don't think Toy Story is as kind of like relevant or a must-see as what it was back in the day. I think it's had its moment. They are still classics, and I think, it's time for the cowboy just to ride off into the sunset, because I'm just looking here. Toy Story 4 cost 200 million, and the box office is only 656 million. So yeah, it's obviously made its money back, but it's not what they would probably they'd be expecting to, smash $1 billion with this, but I don't think it's going to get anywhere.
I mean, they'll make a lot back on merchandise as well, won't they?
Of course they will.
Teddies and toys they sell, they'll make it that way.
Yeah, I think that's why we'll always periodically have like Toy Story, media coming along, just to remind people of the merch that's out there, refresh the merch from time to time.
Yeah. Well, what we were saying is they could probably do like a Toy Story 10 and people would still go and watch it, take the kids to watch it, because it's still going to bring in the money. It might be watered down since the first Toy Story films, but it was still bringing the money for them, especially on the merchandise, the toys, the kids.
It's always that's always going to be there for them, isn't it?
Well, so. Another thing as well, what annoyed me is the fact is the toys in this film was a bit more kind of like doing things where the parents had kind of like, like where it was when it was. Bonnie left a backpack, didn't she, in the antique shop, and she was looking around and said, "Where's my backpack?" or something. And obviously Buzz knew it was in the antique shop, and then he shout out, "It's in the antique shop or something."
There was more interaction between the toys.
Yeah, they've never been like that
before. Yeah.
When Bonnie's dad were driving the camper van, kind of the truck they was in, and they were like obviously like they were doing the pedals and stuff, and a bit like, and she were doing the sat nav, the Bosch sat nav.
Yeah, they had more of an impact on the real world in this film than they have all three films, previously. I mean, they've always kind of like, I mean, you've had the scene with the collector, where they're crawling up on his chest and all this kind of stuff, and
in the second film,
so there were scenes like that, but this one just kind of like seemed a little bit, I don't know, maybe they were pushing it a little bit too far. It's like, oh, come on.
I felt they were, because it was like, it was in the third film as well. I think it was when Woody was trying to escape from the Sunnyside daycare, and when he was in the toilets, he was just about to go out the window, and the cleaner was in the toilets cleaning up, and he was just about to escape through the window, and he looked up the cleaner and went, and Woody thought he saw him, and he just saw like a bit of muck on the mirror.
Yeah,
and he cleaned that off, and Woody got out. But it was just, I think we didn't need it. I think that's the thing. It was enjoyable, but we just didn't need it. I think the third film wrapped it up,
I mean, it's one of them. We could be completely off the mark with this, because I mean, if you think about it, Toy Story came out when I was still in
high school.
I was towards the end of high school, probably first.
When was it? Was it 95, 96, the first film?
I think it was 96, and then 99 for the second one. So I would have been in high school for that. So we've lived with these films for, over 20 years. And we're seeing it now from an adult point of view. Maybe these films do resonate with the kids. I don't know, but it didn't feel like a kids' film. When I was looking around at the reactions of other kids, there was a little bit of restlessness. There wasn't much action to keep the kids entertained. I don't think there was like lots of talky bits in this film, and there were like set pieces and stuff like that, but I don't think it was. I mean, one of them was set in an antique store. I mean, that's not really going to fucking all these, old suitcases and, record collections. That's not what kids know nowadays. It's not visually engaging. I know what everything in that antique store was, because I'm, obviously an adult now. But
was it aimed more at us, the older audience? Do you think?
I think it's skewed a little bit. Yeah, I think even Toy Story 3 to a degree skewed further towards the adult audience than what the kid audience did. Because, I mean, if you look at Toy Story 3, the ending of Toy Story 3, where they're all about to be burned, that is dark as shit.
Yeah.
That made kids cry when I was watching it. And it's like, this is skewed. Because, like, Toy Story 1 and Toy Story 2, and most of the early Pixar stuff hit that kind of like sweet spot between being kid friendly and parent friendly or adult friendly. Always tread that line where there was just enough that there's enough eye candy for the kids to keep the kids kind of entertained and
there was a jokes in there for the
but there was just enough of the jokes were just kind of like treading on that line of being kid friendly, but also kind of had a double meaning, a double entendre of where the adults are like, "Ooh, we get that as well. We get that on a different level." Toy Story 3 kind of skewed a little bit more adult, and I think most of the sequels have as well. I think Incredibles 2 kind of skewed more adult. That is not a kid's film for me. It's too boring for a kid to be entertained by Incredibles 2. Yeah, I like the film, but I was sat there thinking, this isn't a kid's film. This is made for the adults. This is made for the parents.
If it was 6-year-old, 7-year-old was watching that, they'd probably be thinking, nah, it's not for us, this is too boring. Because my little girl with Toy Story 4 as well, sat in the cinema, she was all buzzing to watch it.
Yeah.
And then maybe about half an hour into it, she was like, when we're going home.
Right, there you go then. Yeah,
I don't think, but since we've got home and like weeks later, she said, "Oh, can we watch Toy Story 4 again?" I said, "We ain't got it. It's it's still at the cinema." And but when we were there, she didn't want to watch it. She wanted to come home. So I'm not sure whether or not because she'd had a popcorn, she was full, and she's like, "Oh, I'm bored now. I've had enough." Because I think a lot of the time it's kind of like with my little girl, it's kind of we'll go to the cinema, but I want my popcorn and stuff. And when she's had that, it's like I want to get off. But I thought Toy Story, she was sat and watched it all, but she'd be like, "No, I'm bored." And even though she likes Toy Story.
But then they see the trailers and the adverts again on TV, which makes it look fun and kind of like engaging and entertaining. And then she probably wants to see it again. And then she gets there and she realizes actually, there's only sporadic bits of fun to be had.
Yeah,
it's a more kind of like adult themed cartoon. It is. It's not Rick and Morty, but it is a cartoon at the end of the day that is aimed at the adults. So
I mean, maybe
it's tugging on those emotions at the end of the day, isn't it? It's tugging on those emotions of what it's like to actually give something up, make a sacrifice for something that you love, or sacrifice by giving something away to someone else because you no longer have any use for it and that kind of stuff. That's not stuff that kids can relate to yet. They may relate to it in a couple of years' time, but it's not something that they immediately relate to. But as an adult, it's something that I can relate to, and especially for you as a parent, that is probably something that you can definitely relate to.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, like I say, to sum it up, I don't think it's a bad film. I just, I'm 100% on the same page as you. I just don't think it was necessary. Did I have fun with it? Yes, I did. Did it affect me emotionally? Yes, it did. So in a way, it's kind of done its job. Would I like to see another Toy Story film? No. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
But the worrying thing is, there will be another one coming.
There probably will be another one coming. Yeah.
But I tell you another thing as well. Though, do you know the effects at the start? I thought they were they blew me away at the start. Especially in the rain when it was like a flashback scene to when they were still with Andy and he was rescuing RC who was trapped in that gutter, Woody, and it was they pulled him back through the window, with the monkeys and his pull string. I thought,
we've got to the point now where, like,
the water effects on that just look superb, brilliant. Like, real life.
It's more than photo real; it's hyper real now.
Yeah.
And Pixar have always kind of like done that with certain parts of the technology, because every film that they've kind of like done up until this point has been a stepping stone to, some kind of technology that's used in the next film. They pioneered like the use of fur with Sully and
Monsters Inc.
and then they've all the way through been kind of like improving the quality of the water and all that kind. It's just it's mind-boggling. If you go back and watch like the first Toy Story, and see how far like they've come just from modelling of Andy's face, because you see young Andy in this film as well, don't you?
Yeah.
If you go back and watch Toy Story 1, he looks like almost deformed in a way.
Yeah, same with his mum as well, though. I think in the first film as well, she was pretty much deformed because obviously they've not put that the animation effects weren't that good then, were they, back in them days? But now,
you can still. The thing is, you can still go back and watch Toy Story 1 and have a blast with it, even though by today's standards, the animation is pretty rudimentary and kind of like primitive in a way. because the thing with Toy Story 1 and Toy Story 2 is the stories are so focused. They're absolutely laser focused. There's no fat in those stories whatsoever.
Yeah.
Whereas Toy Story 4, there's a little bit too much bloat in this film. But, you know, it's if you like the characters, go and watch it. You'll probably be disappointed that some of your favourite characters aren't in it so much. But, you know, it's still the characters that you know and love. And, you know, some people will probably have a good time with it. But, yeah. I think, me personally, I'm done with Toy Story.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah.
So moving on to the next one is Spider-Man. Right. No, we'll just get straight to the point anyway. I enjoyed it for what it was, but I just felt like it was a fish out of water. And that last 10 minutes when he was swinging through New York right at the end?
Wasn't even 10 minutes, mate.
Whatever, 2 minutes.
When he had
MJ swinging there, and I just felt, and this was the thing as well. I felt like when I got home from the cinema as well that day, I just had to put on the first Spider-Man film, the Sam Raimi film, just to, you know what I mean, just get that Spider-Man feel, because I felt like this film, Spider-Man 1, was missing the Spider-Man. You know, like what we all love about him swinging through the city and stuff like that. And this film, the last 2 minutes or whatever, that's what we got. But I was pining for that, but we never got it.
Yeah. It's like I said in the
YouTube video,
review. Yeah. That's what I missed about Spider-Man in this one. And to a degree, we kind of we're missing it in Homecoming as well. But because Homecoming served as like that Spider-Man's like origin, even though it wasn't, it was just kind of like setting up the character a little bit more. You know, you kind of accepted it a little bit more. But, you know, jumping from fucking Venice to
London,
yeah.
Paris was in there as well.
To be fair, though, the whole sequence, and again, you know, bit of spoiler talk here. If you've not seen Spider-Man Far From Home, then skip over the next few minutes while we're talking. But the whole scene, like where he's swinging around, like the London Bridge, Tower Bridge, and all that kind of stuff, with all the drones and stuff, I thought that was some of like the best action sequence involving Spider-Man, because, you know, you got a feel of his, you know, momentum and his agility. And the way he was using the webs to, you know, web up all of the drones and stuff like that. I thought, you know, that's what I came to see, you know, and I really enjoyed that sequence.
Just a bit more of it.
Yeah, it was a little bit kind of like back heavy with action. There wasn't all that much going on in the first half of the film. And again, it's one of those. It felt a little bit too much like it was setting up things further down the road rather than concentrating on itself.
Yeah, I got that impression.
Yeah. Although that said, I did like the spoilers at the end. You know, the two stingers. Because that does kind of like change the dynamic of where the MCU is going to go in the future. Spoilers, people. Heavy spoilers. If you haven't seen Spider-Man, skip forward now. This is final warning. So
5 minutes.
Yeah, at least.
So you mean
which one was it? So the first one is you know, just kind of like a fun, light-hearted kind of, oh, look who's back as J. Jonah Jameson. It's now a bald fucking what's his face?
From the original Sam Raimi trilogy of Spider-Man film.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name now, but yeah, he's got bald on it now.
Well, he was bald in that film. That's a wig that he was wearing in the Sam Raimi ones.
All right.
Yeah, he's been bald for the longest time. But he's a perfect J. Jonah. But the revelation there is Peter Parker has been outed, because Mysterio has recorded kind of like this fake death video, hasn't he? And he reveals Spider-Man's true identity to the world. So it's like, oh shit, everyone knows who Spider-Man is now. Potentially, if there is a Sinister Six in this world, they know who Spider-Man is, so they're going to come for him. Matt Gargan, who we see at the end of Homecoming, who asks Michael Keaton's Adrian Toomes who Spider-Man is, and he lies. He says, if I knew who Spider-Man was, he'd be dead already. You know, Matt Gargan now knows.
What character is he though? What character does he play?
Matt Gargan.
Yeah, is he possibly like the Scorpion?
He's Scorpion, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although we've not seen him as the Scorpion in this universe yet, but if you know comics, you know that Matt Gargan is the Scorpion. So potentially they could do the storyline where J. Jonah Jameson actually funds, the development of the Scorpion suit for Matt Gargan and sends him after Spider-Man.
Could be. Yeah, could be.
Who knows?
Do you reckon we'll get Doc Ock?
Probably. He's too big of a character not to get in the MCU. Yeah. How they bring him in, that's going to be another question, because there's still kind of like persistent rumours going around saying that, because Tom Holland said that he wants to do a crossover, like a Spider-Verse crossover with Garfield and Maguire's Spider-Man.
Yeah, I've read that. That'd be good that if they did that. But
I think it's
getting Garfield back though. That's the thing, because didn't he fall out with Sony or something?
Well, this is Sony.
Did he fall out with him though?
I don't think so. No, I think he was just. Yeah, they just decided to reboot without him. But I mean, it's one of them. He's an actor. If they pay him enough money, he's definitely going to fucking come back. Yeah, but I don't think they'll go down that route. I honestly don't think they'll go down that route.
I wish they would.
Yeah,
I think it'd be good that good take, and it'd be good to see Tobey Maguire come back.
But then if they did that kind of like multiverse thing, and we actually got it, and it wasn't as good as Into the Spider-Verse, you'd be like, well, they've done it, but it wasn't as good as Spider-Verse. When Spider-Verse has set the bar for having multiple versions of Spider-Man in the same movie, and it's set the bar so fucking high, it's going to be difficult. You're always going to be going up against the wall with stuff like that now. So it's it's a tricky one, but
yeah, I think I'd like to see it anyway, regardless.
Yeah,
especially
maybe
on the screen. Yeah,
yeah.
But yeah, let's go on to the last end credit scene.
Yeah, so it's revealed that Nick Fury is a Skrull and has been for an undetermined period of time. Which kind of like, because I was like, Nick Fury is acting fucking very weird in this film. And then they actually go ahead and reveal why Nick Fury's been acting very weird in this film. Because I was like, is Sam Jackson just taking the piss now with his performance? And then, we have like the reveal that he's actually Talos from Captain Marvel. And it's like, oh, right, okay, so Nick Fury wasn't Nick Fury. Nick Fury's been on a spaceship, relaxing on a holodeck from Star Trek.
Since when, though?
Yeah.
This is the thing, since when aliens have been up there for relaxing?
Well, this is to be explained, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that could be setting up the Secret Invasion Skrull storyline. I don't think Marvel would be that obvious with it, but we'll see what happens in the future. But it does change the direction of the MCU somewhat. And considering we don't really know what films are actually coming, because as far as I know, the only film that's actually in production at the moment is the Black Widow prequel.
What about Guardians?
That's way off because James Gunn's got to do Suicide Squad 2 yet. So we're looking, minimum 2022, I think.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years, yeah.
And the Eternals, I don't think that's even started rolling yet. So, I know there's going to be a Black Panther 2 because Black Panther 1 made all the money in the world. Doctor Strange 2 is probably on its way with Baron Mordo.
Ant-Man 3.
Do we really need an Ant-Man 3?
Well, I don't think we do, but I think they'll push. They'll...
I wasn't the biggest fan of Ant-Man and the Wasp. I didn't think it had the same kind of energy about
what it's like the first film.
Yeah. I thought it was noticeably weaker than the first film.
What about
it could be.
Thor?
Who knows what's happening with Thor? Who knows? Because Chris Hemsworth has come out and said that he's taking a break from acting. So.
Oh right.
Fuck knows what's happening with Thor.
Yeah. Well, could they incorporate Thor into the Guardians film, do you think, the Volume 3, because he has gone off with the Guardians?
Well, James Gunn has come out and said to stop calling Guardians 3 as Guardians of the Galaxy because it's not going to be what they think.
Oh, right.
So I don't think Thor is going to be in Guardians 3 in the capacity that people are assuming. He might be in it for a little bit and then, be like, peace out, I've got to go and do something over here.
Yeah.
And just disappear. So he might find a gym in outer space and decide to get, ripped again. Who knows? But yeah, it's one of them. I think it's going to focus on Peter and finding Gamora, and Zoe Saldana's apparently said that she wants Gamora to go and be like the antagonist of the film, so that could be interesting. Yeah,
different take on it, yeah.
Yeah, so who knows? Considering we're talking about Spider-Man here, we've not really talked about Spider-Man, which kind of says everything that you need to know about the film. It's like there are enjoyable moments. I did like Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. About as perfect a kind of rendition of, Mysterio as you could get. He looked the part, and he played the part well. So, yeah, I enjoyed it for the action sequences. Just everything that happens up until the action sequences is a little bit boring, a little bit bland, and just not really fulfilling in the way that you want it to be. So, yeah, not as good as Homecoming.
And it's not as good as the Sam Raimi films either, I don't think.
I would say it's probably better than Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, but not the other two.
No. Definitely not as good as Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, no.
But that's the other thing. I mean, we've had a lot of Spider-Man in the last few years. Are we not starting to get sick of Spider-Man? It's possible.
Yeah, possibly. Who knows?
I don't think Tom Holland, and this isn't any disrespect to Tom Holland or the character of Spider-Man, but I don't think he is going to be able to replace, Tony Stark and Iron Man in the MCU. If that's what they want to do and push him forward as like the face of the Avengers, I don't think he's
the one.
Well, not that he's not the one. I don't think they positioned the character the way that they needed to actually do that. And I don't think Spider-Man in the MCU was ever supposed to be the leader of the Avengers. So, for me, Spider-Man's always worked better when, he's facing off against foes who are more powerful and smarter than him. Because at the end of the day, he's a teenage boy and he's going up against kind of like supervillains. And it's always about him finding a way to actually defeat them. But yeah, just get him back in fucking New York, though. Just get him back in New York.
Yeah, them last 2 minutes of the film there is what we miss, really.
And bin off Ned, because he's really starting to fucking annoy me now.
Yeah, that whole relationship with that blonde girl was a bit... bit random. Because kind of like, they fell in love with her, we're together kind of thing. And then when they got back to New York, it was kind of like, well, we've decided to break up now. We've not got that much in common and stuff like that. I was like, well, why?
It just wasn't funny.
Yeah.
It just wasn't fun. In the same way that all the Flash Thompson stuff isn't funny. So, yeah.
But we'll in the opening scene as well, though, was that supposed to be Sandman?
No. I think it was just a gentle nod.
Yeah, and then you had that Hydro Man, didn't you?
Later again, I think it's just a gentle nod. Yeah, it's just
because I was in Smith's toy shop yesterday looking at the Lego toys, and I picked up I think it was like the Venice set, something like that, something daft like 50 quid or something like that. And I looked at the characters you get with it, and one was Spider-Man. I think it was Spider-Man, MJ, and Hydro Man. And I thought, it must be Hydro Man that. I was like I said, just a nod to him.
Yeah, I think it's just a nod to the character. I think the reason that they featured them heavily in the trailer was to get fans thinking, oh, we've got a version of Sandman coming here, and we've got a version of Hydro Man coming here.
Yeah.
When in actual fact you haven't. You just had holograms of characters who could represent them.
Yeah.
Clearly don't.
Oh, I've heard as well though that that end credit scene in Endgame when they re-released it at the cinemas.
Yeah.
But it was supposed to be just Samuel Jackson when it heading to Mexico, was it, to see, how Spider-Man set out, and he was in Mexico and he saw Sandman there in the desert. I think it was supposed to be that end scene. Have you heard that?
No. From what I've seen, the added scene was a deleted scene with the Hulk saving some people from a burning building or something like that.
Oh yeah, there's that one, and then I got told this one about this heading to Mexico to see Sandman or something.
Oh no,
Yeah.
Wasn't aware.
That's what I got told anyway. Maybe wrong, but that's what I've been told. Anyway, should we get to it? The main feature.
Go on then. Why not?
Why not? I've been chomping at the bit to talk about this for a few months now since I've watched the first John Wick. So
okay, so yeah, John Wick 2. There's no point me even asking when you first saw this film because it's pretty clear that you hadn't seen John Wick 2 at the cinema when it came out. So you've basically watched it for a little bit of research for this podcast. So
yeah, I've got it in the background now as well though. So I just went off what your recommendation was. Check out John Wick's.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because, like I said, I kind of like stumbled across a review for John Wick, and that's what made me discover it. And then it was a case of after I'd watched the first John Wick, I found out that John Wick 2 was, in production and coming out pretty soon. So that was a day one for me. I was like, I was all in on this character from the first film. I thought it was a breath of fresh air for like modern American action films.
Yeah.
And I was really excited to see what they were going to do with the sequel, even though I would argue that it didn't need a sequel. And I'm completely going to go against what I said about Toy Story, the Toy Story franchise here. Just saying, Toy Story 4 wasn't necessary. John Wick 2 isn't necessary because John Wick 1 is a very, self-contained story when you look at it. He has a very strong motivation and a very strong goal in that film, which he fulfills by the end of the film, and that's it. Beyond that, doesn't need a sequel, I would argue. But it made a decent amount of money at the box office, was a bit of a sleeper hit, became a bit of a cult film on, home media. Lots of people seem to have bought it on home media. And evidently, money talks.
Yeah. Did they do good at the box office, the first film? We talked about that when we did the John Wick episode.
Yeah, I can't remember now. Let me... Because I know they didn't cost much to make.
No.
It was made on a budget of 20 to 30 million, and it made 88.8 million back. So, yeah. May seem like a small amount. However, when you're keeping the budget that low on the film, and there was next to no marketing on the first film, I don't even remember seeing a trailer for the first film. So I wasn't even aware of it until it was already out on Blu-ray. It was a no-brainer that they were gonna, make a second one.
Yeah.
The second one cost 40 million, so potentially it's doubled its budget because it's only estimated between 20 and 30 million. But it made 171.5 million. So.
And whatever else on home release as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's what doesn't take into account. This is just.
I think these kind of films, I think they've made the money a lot as well. Then it's gone off word of mouth as when it's been released on DVD, Blu-ray, and stuff. I think people have like, got onto it, and even when it's gone onto like, I don't know if it's Netflix, Now TV, or something like that, streaming services. I think people have like obviously spread the word, check out John Wick and stuff like that. So people have got on board then.
Yeah.
I'm going to go by out on the mirror and said this is probably one of the sequel films, what's up there with like like Aliens, Terminator 2, Toy Story 2, them kind of like sequels like it's as good as the original film, I think.
Well, I feel kind of like the signs of what I said when I was talking about John Wick 3. Because I feel John Wick 3 is probably the worst film out of the trilogy on a story standpoint, but the best film out of the trilogy on an action standpoint. And I feel like before John Wick 3 came out, that kind of holds true with Chapter 2. I think the story, even though it expands the world of the assassins and introduces a new kind of element with the Bowery King and the underground world that we've got there, with all of that kind of interconnectivity, and it obviously takes John over to Rome. He goes to the Intercontinental, or the Italian Continental, with Franco Nero as the manager over there. Even though it expands the world of the assassins and everything, and kind of like builds upon the mythology of the first film, his motivation is not as strong, and you're never going to get away from that. It's just the first film is a perfect revenge movie, in the same way as like if you go back to like the original Death Wish, it's just kind of like this hyperbolic kind of like revenge movie. You know exactly the reason why the character is, out for revenge, and at the end of the day, he fulfills that without any problems whatsoever. Well, there's a few problems along the way, but still, he accomplishes his mission by the end of the film, and that's it.
Yeah, because this one's not a case of a revenge film, is it? It's more of a case of he's got to stick to that oath, anti. What is it that? What's it called now? That thing where he stamped his finger.
The blood oath, yeah.
The blood oath, he's got to stick to that, yeah.
This is kind of like this is John having to deal with the consequences of the actions he took in the first film. So he got out of his life of being a kind of like elite assassin. However, he was dragged back into that world to take revenge on the people who killed his puppy and stole his car. And like Santino says in this film, no one gets out without kind of like, having to pay the price. No one gets out and comes back without having to pay the price. This is pretty much John having to deal with the consequences of everything that he did in the first film.
Yeah, he's paying the price.
Yeah, if he didn't come back and take that revenge, then Santino wouldn't be calling upon him to actually, carry out this mission that he has to assassinate his own sister. Yeah, which is kind of fucked up. And the moment you see this guy, I don't know how you say his last name, but he's Ricardo Scamarcio. This guy's a bad guy. There's just something about having a character who's got kind of like piercing blue eyes, but dark kind of hair and thick, bushy eyebrows. You're like, this guy's evil. Do you know? As soon as you see him, you're like, this is the bad guy.
Yeah, even when didn't he ask John Wick to take out his sister, and he was like, John was saying, no, I'm not doing it, kind of thing. And then as he were walking out, John was showing him the door, and he was walking out. He said, "Oh, nice house," and you knew he's going to destroy his house.
Yeah.
John's nice. But yeah, the funny thing is, the film starts off, and is it 2 weeks after the first film where he goes still going getting his car back? So it's like
it's not even that long. I think it's just like 3 or 4 days after the first film.
Yeah, so if anything, it just carries straight on from the first film, and he just going getting his car. And that opening action scene as well, when he's taking on the thugs on when he gets his car, and he's kind of like knocking around with his car, and there's one guy, I think he rams his car into his car, and the guy drops out of his car and he starts walking off. And John kind of like reverses back and spins his car and slams his side of his car against his block and splats him against the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he gets out.
It's kind of like a metal pillar kind of thing.
Yeah. And he gets out and he's just a bit of hand-to-hand combat with a few of them, doesn't he?
Yeah, but what I found interesting is like in the opening kind of, because it's a bit of a cold open. You have that motorcycle chase through so there's a bit of a like cinematic homage to Buster Keaton, because there's an old film of his being projected up on the walls of the building.
Yeah.
And then you see the motorcycle and John in the Challenger from the first film screeching around the corner chasing this motorbike. And then he gets to like the chop shop of the cars where his stolen car's being kind of
the Mustang.
Where it's being held by Vigo's brother from the first film, who's played by Peter Stormare.
Oh, the guy from Armageddon, the Russian guy from Armageddon.
Yeah, or the crazy guy from Fargo who puts.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. What's his famous line in Armageddon? It's something like the Russian space station or something. I never saw Star Wars. Is that it? I don't know if that's going to turn out on the episode anyway.
Yeah. Moving swiftly on from that slightly stereotypical Russian accent. Peter Stormare is actually Swedish, the same as Michael Nyqvist. So it's interesting that they got two Swedish actors to play two Russian actors who are brothers in this film. What was I going to say? I completely lost my train of thought. Oh, it's John's not actually killing these people when he gets to the garage. He's just kind of like, he doesn't seem interested in killing them. He's just kind
wants
of
the
like,
car.
he's maiming them and kind of knocking them out and kneecapping a few people, but he's not killing anyone.
Yeah, he's not shooting, is he? It's just
No.
combat. Yeah.
He's causing some, extremely kind of like, savage injuries on someone, especially with the car hit into the metal.
That guy, yeah.
He's not going to get up and walk away from that anytime soon, but he's not killing them. He's not headshotting them like he was in the first film.
Yeah, he's just using his car as a weapon, isn't it? Because basically he uses his car that much as a weapon. He's basically knackered his car up. And there's a part where the first time I watched it, well, he gets back in his car, Johnny gets knocked out of his car, he gets back into it, and he goes to start the ignition up, and he's thinking to himself, he's not going to really start this, and he starts it up, and he drives it all the way home, just like falling to bits, crushed in.
Yeah.
It might have just been just easier if it's going buy a new Mustang than take that back and then get that sorted by what's the character, John
Leguizamo.
Johnny Legs. Getting it sorted out for him.
Yeah, because you got that little bit of levity where he's like, "Can I fix it?" He's like, "Can I fix it?" You got a crack in the windshield, and the windshield's kind of all, smashed up because like 5 people have gone through the windshield, and God knows how many have gone under the wheels and stuff like that. But yeah, a little bit of car foo starts off the film, and we get a call back. Well, it's a little bit of exposition as well because Peter Stormare's character is recapping who John Wick is and just how deadly he is. Because he's talking to his henchman, isn't he? And he brings up the pencil. He's like, he killed 3 people in a bar. And he's like, yeah, I know, he killed 3 people in a bar with a pencil. And he's like, who the fuck can do that? So for people who haven't seen the first film, it's just kind of like a recap that John Wick is a badass. We know he's a badass, and he's coming for him because he wants his car back.
Wants his car, yeah. And it's funny, isn't it, that all this action scene right at the start happens before the actual credits start. The John Wick title comes up.
Yeah, when I was watching it again last night, I was kind of like, it's almost as if they were kind of like doing a cold open like a James Bond film.
Yeah, I got that impression. Yeah.
So you got this kind of like pre-credits action sequence, and then when we go back to the film after the credits, it's just setting up the story because nothing else really happens until like almost the hour mark. It's just setting up the story of the film, really.
Story, yeah.
Yeah, so
maybe they do that action scene as well to set you, so you're bought into the film then kind of thing, because you're going to have like maybe, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes or something before some more action kicks in.
Yeah, I suppose they take the time with this because they do a lot of world building with this film in that hour up until John actually begrudgingly accepts his mission.
Do you think this film does a lot of setting up for like future films as well? With the whole like backstory with the assassins and stuff and the hotel.
I think it's trying to expand the world, and it does that pretty well. Because we now have, like in the first film, it introduces the concept of the gold coins as payment, even though there's kind of like no fixed monetary kind of value. So you can get a hotel room in the Continental for a single gold coin, or when he goes to the bar with that hot chick with the tattoos, he gets a drink with a gold coin.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, well, how much are these gold fucking coins worth? Because surely a drink costs less than the hotel room. But, it doesn't seem to in this world. It doesn't have a fixed monetary thing. In this film, we're introduced to the idea of the markers, and the blood oath that John has, at some point in his history, called in a favour. And the blood oath in these, the markers are a favour for a favour.
John's done a favour for this guy, and then they say this guy's once.
This guy's done a favour for him.
All right, sorry.
Because he on that fateful night that John got out, did his impossible task for Vigo. Santino did something that we never find out about, but I can only assume he helped John in some way complete his impossible task, which allowed him to get out and try and build a life with his wife.
Yeah.
So because Santino did John this favor, which John sealed with his thumbprint marked with blood, he's kind of like bound to him like a blood brother almost. He has to fulfill this quest. But John does his best to kind of like push back, doesn't he? He said, just don't do this. I'm asking you, just don't do this. I'm not that guy anymore.
Yeah, he wants that.
I can't do this for you. And that's before he even knows what the task is. Because he doesn't actually tell him what he wants until after he's blown his house up. And
yeah, to goes and sees him, that was it.
And then he goes and sees him at the art gallery.
Yeah, because he wants in on the he wants in on the table, doesn't he, kind of thing?
The high table, yeah.
Yeah, he wants in on there, but obviously he doesn't want his sister's going to get that place on the table, but he wants that place, so he wants John to take his sister it because he can't obviously take his sister it because he loves her.
Not only that, but obviously, if it was common knowledge that he'd taken her out, then he wouldn't get the place at the high table. So he's lusting for his sister's power at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And he wants to call in this favour that John owes him to assassinate his sister. What an horrible bastard.
Do you think that because obviously, do you reckon John had an incline that he was going to blow the house up or destroy his house, so he stayed there and he just thought, well, if I die, because he's obviously his wife's passed away.
I think he knew there would be consequences for refusing him, but I don't think he would have, he would have known that Santino would have gone and got a rocket launcher out of the boot of his car and just blew his house up then and there, because I don't think he would knowingly just stay in his house while the house is...
Yeah, I mean, everything's in the house, isn't it? All the pictures of his wife, him and his wife together, the videos he's got of her. And he's a bit of a traditionalist as well, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I find it interesting because it's obviously playing on the symbolism, again, from the first film, when John is called, or John decides to take revenge on Vigo's son. He's buried his old life in the kind of like the foundations of the house of his new life. Yeah. And he literally breaks through the rocks and smashes through the foundation to dig up his old life, his old persona. And in this film, we actually see him reburying that old persona that he dug up just for that one night of revenge. Because he buries it back underneath the house, doesn't he? You see him reconcreting the floor.
Yeah,
he smashed through it. And literally, as soon as he's done burying his past for the second time, you get the ding dong at the door. Santino's outside, try to drag him back into that world again.
Do you know when he blew his house up as well? Though he takes one hell of a walk with his dog, doesn't he, to see to the hotel. He goes on foot, doesn't drive though. He just goes straight on foot. Has he walked it all the way there? I
mean, yeah. Well, it's night time when you see him start walking. Then it's kind of like cuts to the next day, doesn't it? So...
Yeah, well, he's just got one thing in his mind. I suppose it's like, okay, I'm going to do this mission and then get my life back.
Yeah. Well, which is all that he wants, because he seems like he's done with. That's what I'm saying about like the opening sequence at the garage as well. He doesn't seem like he's interested in killing anyone else. Like he's maiming and kind of like disfiguring people, but he's not killing anyone. He's just kind of like knocking them out or incapacitating them.
Yeah.
Until he gets his car back. But obviously, once we've kind of been introduced to Santino and the concepts of the marker and all that kind of stuff, the film does a little bit more world building by sending John over to Rome, and we see that there's a Continental set up over in Rome.
Yeah.
And the manager of that, in the same way that Ian McShane is, the manager of the New York Continental, Winston, we see Franco Nero is the manager of the Continental over in Rome. And he calls him Jonathan again, doesn't he? So he sits him down and he's like, why have you come? Have you come for the Pope? He seems worried that John's actually over there. He's aware that John's retired as well. So he wants to know why John's there. And when he says he's not there for the Pope, he gives him one of the finest rooms in the hotel, doesn't he?
Yeah, I do remember that one. Yeah. But I was getting to the point as well, though. Do you know when he's at home, John, as well, and he's always better, like he sleeps on his side of the bed, he doesn't sleep on his wife's side, and he has a necklace of a hunting. Do they put a cup of coffee down? He has a cup of coffee, but he puts an empty cup down on her side of the bed. Am I right? He still does that every night until he sticks to that.
Yeah, he lets the dog straight up on the bed this time, though, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's got no name, the dog, though, has it? It's just
no, it doesn't. No, but he tried making the puppy sleep on the floor, didn't he? Because he didn't want it sleeping on the bed.
Yeah,
But in this one, he lets the dog sleep on the bed with him on his wife's side, like you say, straight away without any reservations.
Yeah. Does he? We never found out where he got the dog from, do we? Because when
he
we
got
said
it from
before,
the pound in the first film. So at the end of the first film,
yeah.
After he's had his fight with Vigo and he's bleeding out, he breaks into a vet's to get some medical supplies
Yeah, he does. Yeah,
and then he sees the dog, and then like the last shot of him is just wandering off with the dog down the side of
that. Yeah.
So that's where this dog's come from.
Right, but
I don't think it's the same dog as the first film, but it looks pretty similar. But it's like a grey. It's not a Staffy. It looks like. Is it a Staffy? I don't know.
Can't remember now, but
it kind of looks like a Staffy, but
yeah, it might be a little bit taller. But where does the dog stay when he's in the hotel? Is it just? Oh no, that black chap looks after him.
Yeah, Karen looks after the dog. Yeah, or Cheryl. Yeah, he's like, I would be happy to take the responsibility. Yeah, because he's like, does the dog have a name? And he's like, no.
Yeah. And then he goes off, doesn't he, John? Didn't he go off to get the guns and?
No, he goes off to Rome first, and has a chat with Franco Nero's character, the manager there. If anyone recognises Franco Nero, he was Django in the spaghetti western films in 1966.
Yeah.
Before Jamie Foxx took over the character of Django, and he was also in Die Hard 2 as the Colonel Esperanza, is it? General.
Oh yeah.
General Esperanza. So kind of a legend of cinema, Franco Nero.
Yeah, and you've also got the lady on you who doesn't say anything. She's mute. The assassin.
Yeah, we don't really know who she is. We just see her at the kind of like behind Santino when he turns up at the house.
And then you see her at the museum, don't you, when she kind of frished John down, feels his arm and stuff.
Yeah. But once John's had the conversation with Santino and he knows that he's required to go and kill his sister, that's when we get like the montage of him going getting a nice new suit. And he goes to Somalia and gets the guns.
Yeah.
Somalia is played by Peter Serafinowicz, who you will probably recognise from Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that in. Yeah, he played Pete in Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
So that's a nice little segue from the Shaun of the Dead episode to John Wick 2.
And also another segue to the next episode that we're going to be recording next week, which is episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
Because he voiced Darth Maul in that film.
No, see, there you go. Yeah. Connecting all these films together, people.
It's like 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon all over. Mike's Movie Connections making a reappearance here. Completely unplanned, but yeah. But it's a nice little montage, isn't it? It's kind of like a suiting up kind of thing. He's getting all of his guns, and the sommelier recommending different weapons based on his needs, which he's describing in the way that a wine sommelier would. He's like, I need something bold.
Yeah. That suit he gets as well, isn't it? Bulletproof.
The suit isn't bulletproof, but the tailor kind of introduces the idea that they have this.
You won't bleed out, will you? It'll stop the bullet going in. You won't bleed out, but you'll feel the impact.
Yeah, so there's kind of like this. It looks like a sheet of rubber that they show in the film, but essentially it's like next gen body armor, so zero penetration.
It's kind of like reminded me of something like you see in a video game, that or something. I don't know, like Hitman or something like that. One of these games, action games. Put a suit on there, you upgrade and get the special suits, and you can take the bullets because it takes a few bullets in this. John. He also uses the suit as well. Maybe a bit like Dracula. He uses the cape until it blocked the bullets when people shoot him.
Yeah, when he's in the catacombs and he's making yeah.
Oh, that scene's brilliant. That when he hides the guns as well, sets it up beforehand, and he hides all the guns in little like holes in the catacomb.
Yeah, well, that shows a different level to John. It's kind of like he doesn't just go in there without a plan. He knows exactly what his exit strategy is going to be when he's going to assassinate Santino's sister. So he's planned it because you see him when he's getting his suit and getting his guns. You also see him interacting with this guy who's got like the blueprints of the catacombs underneath. So he's planning his entrance and exit because remember he shows him like the floor plans or the blueprints of underneath.
Ah, yeah, he does, yeah.
Yeah, so John's actually quite technically minded there, and is obviously using some tactics because he knows where the choke points are in the tunnels. He obviously must have done a bit of recce, so he knows what weapons he'll need at what point. So a shotgun will be in this part here, and he can reload the rest of it. He can go through this tunnel with an assault rifle and all that kind of stuff. So he plants them all in advance, knowing full well that the actual fight isn't going to be getting in there; it's going to be getting out.
Yeah, he knows every man and his dog is going to be on his ass, isn't he?
Yeah. And he's not wrong, really, because his kill count goes up quite a bit in that.
Yeah, I read somewhere online actually the other day, and it made me laugh that John Wick's kill count. He's got more of a kill count than I think it's more than Freddy, Jason, and Michael Myers. No.
Well, that doesn't really surprise me. Because, I mean, realistically speaking, how many people die in
that club scene? Well, in the club scene as well. In the first film, he's taken a lot out in that, and in this film as well. There's many scenes later on in the film. He's just popping people's heads off and stuff.
Yeah, but in like horror movies, even though like people die in horror movies, I'd say the most that you're going to get killed in a horror movie is maybe 12. So,
yeah, I think Jason took out the most, and I think by far, I don't think Freddy's took out that many.
Well, I think Jason's got twice as many films, hasn't he? So,
yeah.
How many are there now in that?
It's 11. It's 11 now. So we had 10 in the original run, and then they did that little reboot from 2009, which is set kind of like after the first film, before the second one, is it, or something? I'm not sure. Or after the second film. So you got 11 films there, and then Freddy, you've got what? Is it 6 or 7 of Freddy films? You got Freddy versus Jason as well in the mix there.
Yeah.
I don't think Freddy kills anybody that was in that film. Maybe only kills a few. Only kills the girl from. Yeah, maybe kills two or something like that. But Michael Myers, I think he's got a good kill count, but not as nowhere near as Jason. I think Jason's out there, but John Wick's over him at the moment.
Right. I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Well, look at Commando. Look at any 80s action film, and the body count in those are going to be higher. Rambo
as well.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I suppose if you keep it separate and put like action stars battling against each other, like John Wick compared to Rambo, and maybe what's it called?
Yeah, someone needs to do an infographic on that.
Yeah,
I know there's infographic on like what weapons John uses in each film and how many people he kills with them. But I think someone needs to do like an infographic for how many kills like Rambo has compared to I don't know who else.
Like Matrix and Commando,
So I think there's like 120 in Commando or something like that. It's definitely over 100 in Commando. So someone needs to reckon all of these up. So we need a kill count for Commando. We need a kill count for all the Rambo films put together. We need the kill count for the Die Hard films. Not really many kills in the Terminator films, is there?
No, not the Terminator. Let's have a think. What else there is?
We go with RoboCop. There's going to be some dead bodies in RoboCop.
Yeah. Oh, what about Infinity War?
That's Thanos. The whole. Well, that's 50% of everything, mate. So Thanos wins. No, but if we're just looking at like the 80s action films, it's kind of or the 90s action films as well. But the 90s action films weren't really about killing people in the same way that the 80s ones were they?
Well, Will Smith in Bad Boys 2 as well. He takes a few, right, only in that.
Yeah, you can throw Bad Boys in there, but I don't think that would be very high.
No, well, we'd say John Wick, wouldn't we? It's got John Wick at the moment. We'd say he's up there.
Yeah, I'd say John Wick's probably top.
Yeah. I'm just at the scene, I've got it the film on in the background. I'm just at the scene now he's giving the coins out, going to the tailors, and he's getting his suit and stuff like that. And he's getting his guns. Just as that like section of like scenes.
Yeah. As montages go, it's quite entertaining because you have kind of like those little dialogue snippets between him and the sommelier, Peter Serafinowicz, and him talking to the tailor, and he's like, 0 penetration, but unfortunately it does sting quite a bit and all that kind of stuff. So Um, yeah, and just like once we get onto that part, he goes and obviously tries to kill what's his face's sister. What's she called in this film?
Well, she ended up taking
Gianna.
a bath in front of him,
Gianna.
didn't she?
Yeah, Gianna D'Antonio. Now that bit there, when he goes to actually kill her, and she's kind of like, she gives him a big fuck you. She's like, what would your wife think if she knew that you were coming to kill me and all this kind of thing? Was her life worth mine and all this kind of stuff?
Yeah.
So she accepts the fact that she's got no way out, and she knows that John's going to kill her one way or another. And she decides, like, as a bit of a last fuck you, yeah, because John tells her exactly why he's there as well. So she knows that she's been betrayed by her brother, and she decides, like, I've lived my life my own way, so I'm going to die my own way as well. And she slits her wrist with a knife that she has in her.
Yeah. But don't John just hold her hand as she's dying? He holds her hand, and then I don't know if it's like a comforting thing or something while she's dying.
Yeah.
And then obviously just bullet shoots her in the head.
Yeah, because John doesn't want to be there. That's the thing. And he respects her decision at the end of the day to actually, take her own death into her. Yeah. So he respects that. So I think that's why he just takes a hand and comforts her in the moment where she dies. But there's an interesting point that I've been reading about as well. It's like, why does he shoot her after she dies?
Is that because he always leaves a headshot or something? I'm not sure.
No, well, there's two kind of like theories that I kind of hit upon when I was reading about it, and one of the theories is because he's there to complete a marker. The marker wouldn't be complete if he couldn't prove that he actually killed her. So that's one of them. He just puts a bullet into her so he can say, "Yeah, I shot her, I killed her," kind of thing. But the other one that I actually quite like goes back to like John's compassion in that scene, because, like I say, he doesn't want to be there, and he certainly doesn't want to kill her. He's being forced to because of the marker that he owes to her brother Santino.
Yeah.
So the other thing that I was reading is that obviously they're in Rome, and you can quite comfortably assume that she's probably Catholic, with her being
yeah, more than likely, I think.
And suicide in the Catholic religion is considered a mortal sin. So if you commit suicide, your soul doesn't get to go to heaven. You're trapped for eternity in hell. Same way as another movie connection, Rachel Weisz's character in Constantine.
Yeah, another Keanu Reeves film.
There you go. So her character, well, she plays twins in that film, but one of the twins commits suicide. And it's a mortal sin, so she's trapped in hell, and that's kind of like one of the plot points in Constantine. So I think that in that moment, just before she actually dies, John shoots her in the head, so technically she hasn't committed suicide.
Yeah.
So if
you could be right.
believe in that, then she is able to actually go to heaven. Whether or not she would be allowed to go to heaven, considering some of the things that we hear her explain to that guy she threatens in the scene prior, is that's another matter for debate.
Yeah.
Because she's not a good person. Let's not forget, even though John doesn't want to actually kill her, she is not a good person because she basically threatens the other guy in the scene prior, doesn't she? So, yeah.
At least John got to see her naked before she passed.
Yeah. I thought that chick had a bit of a kind of passing resemblance to Monica Bellucci. Because I thought it was her to begin with, and then she turned around. I was like, it's definitely not her.
Who's that, sorry?
The woman. Monica Bellucci.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I could have seen, like, in another world, it might have been Monica Bellucci, because obviously she showed up as what's her face in the Matrix films, didn't she? Persephone.
No, this is it, isn't it?
It could have been another connection there, but
this is it. You've got Lawrence Fishburne turning up later on as well, so another Matrix connection there.
Lawrence Fishburne.
Fishburne. Turning up.
I thought you said Fishburne.
Turning up later on, yeah. So that's another little Matrix connection.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Because I read
Uh,
somewhere as well that could this be set in the Matrix? I read
yeah,
that
I've
as well
heard
the other
this.
day.
Like John
Yeah,
Wick is the next iteration of the one. Yeah,
yeah,
that's why he's unkillable in these
yeah.
films.
But I'll tell you something. If we get Carrie-Anne Moss returning for maybe the fourth film or something like that, it'd be like, hang about something going on here.
It's a possibility, mate.
Yeah,
It is a possibility. So yeah, once he's shot her in the head, he tries to make his escape, and then he's confronted by, um,
that fellow assassin. I don't know his
yeah,
name.
what's his face, Cassian, who is Gianna's chief bodyguard. So they've got quite a close relationship. Obviously, Cassian takes exception to the fact that John's just killed his ward.
Yeah,
So we have a big old scuffle between Cassian and Common in the middle of the kind of like open air park nightclub type thing.
yeah. It's reminiscent of the club scene in the first film a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah,
And then he end up going through the tunnels into the catacombs, and he's running there with a shotgun, taking all the other
yeah.
assassins, like henchmen kind of thing, taking them
And
out.
it's kind of like a really dark scene, but it's all lit in kind of like bluey green, isn't it? So it's kind of
Yeah, bits of blue light in there on the ground
yeah.
there. Yeah,
And that's another thing that kind of like they've if they've upped the game like from the action set piece point of view in this film, they've definitely upped the game from the kind of like the look of the film. Uh, like the cinematography side of things, because this film looks absolutely amazing. The use of color and light, and shadow as well, especially in
yeah. I thought.
the
Well, I think we greeted by. I think first time I see John Wick in this film, I think when he goes to get his car, I think he just appears in the shadows, and you just see one side of his face. You can make out obviously it's John Wick. The other side, he's just in the darkness.
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
sure if that's supposed to resemble something, mean something. I don't know, or it's just the way he just appears in the film. I'm not sure, but
I think it's just the way kind of like because Santino refers to him as the ghost in this, doesn't he? Uh,
yeah,
and that's how he's actually revealed to Gianna in this film when she's looking in the mirror and the camera swings around behind her. One minute he's not there, and then you see his reflection in the mirror behind her. And there's a lot of reflection symbolism going on in this film. It's like when Santino places the marker down on John's table and slides it over to him. John's table's actually mirrored. Um, so there's a lot of kind of like subtext going on, playing with reflections in this film.
yeah. Same with the
Uh,
first film, though, isn't it as well?
yeah, just to kind of like hammer home the duality of John's character in this film. The two sides to him and all that kind of stuff. So obviously that goes into overdrive when we get to the end sequence, but we'll save that for a little bit later.
Yeah.
So yeah, going through the catacombs, probably one of the best gunfights you'll ever see, ever. The way he's switching between weapons. He's got the assault rifle, and then he switches to his pistol, and he switches over to the shotgun. And it's not only the fact that he's actually, shooting people and being deadly accurate. It's the fact that we actually see him at certain points have to reload his weapons. And there's a point where he's got the shotgun underneath his chin, and he's reloading. Then another guy goes around the corner, so he quickly draws out his pistol, shoots the guy, and then goes back to loading the shotgun underneath his chin.
In
And
the
it's
part
just
where he fights a guy with a shotgun against the wall, and did he have to reload? Didn't he shove the shotgun against his chest and reload the shotgun
and
and
reload
then
it
shoots
and
him?
then pump it into him.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just you can tell that there is hours and hours and hours spent, practicing his techniques with the weapons. It's just
And it's all Keanu Reeves as well, isn't it?
yeah, no
Most,
cuts. I mean, I know
yeah.
it's all bathed in shadow, and someone could easily turn around and say that's not him, but the camera shows him just enough so you can actually say that is him 100%.
Yeah. Well, I read about this. It's 90% of the action. It's 90% of the stunts he does, doesn't he? Reeves.
Yeah, well, whenever he's asked about doing his own stunts, he never directly answers the question. If you notice in any interview, he says he does his own action, but he doesn't do his own stunts. So that's how he kind of frames it, because I think he does truly actually respect the art of, being a stuntman or stunt person. And the last thing he wants is to actually take a job away from someone. But that said, he does want to do as much as he is physically able or physically allowed to do in these films. So he always answers that question by saying that he does his own action, but he doesn't do his own stunts. So yeah. Which is very cool because you can tell it's him. And another great film about the John Wick films is that they don't do that frenetic cutting to the action scenes. That, you know, some shots are like 10, 15 seconds long, and when you've got, even though they're kind of like 10 or 15 seconds doesn't sound like a long time in terms of an action movie. You know, think to the Transformers films and how quickly Bad Boys and how quickly Michael Bay edits those films. There's normally like 2 or 3 cuts in the space of a second and a half. You know, it's cut. But
with John Wick, it just flow straight through.
So the camera kind of lingers and you get to appreciate everything that's actually happening in the frame.
Yeah.
And it's not just that. It's not just the fact that they actually hold the shots on them for a long period of time. It's the way that they actually frame the action and choreograph it as well. So all of the camera angles give you a clear sense of where John is as opposed to where Common is when they're having the shootout in the streets behind the cars, and they use the cars as kind of cover.
Yeah, just after he knocks him down.
Yeah, and you know exactly where John is in relation to Common. And then John jumps over the car bonnet, and then they get into a hand fight. Yeah. And then it cuts back to kind of like a wider shot, so you can see them both full body, you know, kicking off and throwing each other and all that kind of stuff.
They go down them big steps as well, don't they? Like the steps.
Yeah, that's one of the ones that Keanu. Yeah. Keanu wasn't allowed to do that one, so yeah.
Oh yeah, understandable. Yeah, but they end up in the hotel, don't they? They scrap it on the streets, and they end up falling through the glass window, don't they?
Continental, that's right.
It, yeah.
And
you have to stop fighting then, don't they?
Yeah, they both kind of begrudgingly stop fighting and then go to the
bar.
Yeah, why don't you gentlemen have a drink? So they go to the bar and then they kind of like carry on the battle, but just kind of with words.
Verbally,
you know what I mean? Yeah. Very tense scene, but they both respect the rules of the Continental, and they they share a drink.
Yeah.
And there's obviously a bit of history with these characters because they know what each other drink.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. Do you think we'll ever get a prequel?
No.
No, you think they'll just leave it as it is?
No, I think if we ever kind of like find out, it'll maybe in like a flashback or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening with the series now because that's gone very quiet.
Was Reeves on board for
that? He wasn't going to be a main character, but he would have like floated in as John from time to time.
Right. So I'm just wondering, are they filming John Wick 4 now, or because he's doing Bill and Ted?
No, he's doing Bill and Ted now.
Yeah, so John Wick 4 is coming after that.
John Wick 4 will be coming after that. Yeah. It gives him time to grow his beard back as well.
Well, he can keep his hair long anyway, can't he, for Bill and Ted?
Yeah, I think he has kept his hair long, but he's shaved the beard off, hasn't he? So
yeah. Because the other bloke as well, is it what was it, Alex Winter?
Yeah.
I've seen a picture of him outside the phone box, and they're running, when they're filming the third film, and they're just like running off into a direction, and it looks as though he's lost a bit of weight now for the role as well, because he was always a bit like he pumped out a little bit.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so it's like he's got into shape for it as well.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a revival for Keanu Reeves, because I don't think this was expected to be as popular a series as what it was, and I think if John Wick hadn't come along, then we definitely wouldn't have had talks of Bill and Ted being revived. I think it would have just stuck in kind of development hell.
Yeah, because he seems to be the man of the moment at the moment, doesn't he? Reeves?
He's definitely the man of the moment. Yeah. The internet's boyfriend and all that kind of stuff, and you're breathtaking. No, you're breathtaking, and all that kind of stuff at E3.
I think as well, though, if there's any chance of another Matrix film coming and he's going to be in it, this could be the time. If they go that route, because he seems to be popular at the moment.
Yeah, I'm hearing that they are working on the next Matrix film, the Wachowski sisters now, I would say.
Oh, yeah, because one of them's changed.
Both of them.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Oh, they both? I thought it was one.
Yeah, right. they both transitioned, yeah.
Right.
I think they're not referred to as the Wachowski sisters, they're just referred to as the Wachowski. So I'm probably being ignorant by saying that, but when I first became aware of them, it was the Wachowski brothers, and obviously now they're sisters, so I'm trying to be respectful there, but someone will probably take offense. So we'll just say the Wachowskis are working on the next Matrix film. And who did I read was going to be considered. I think, was it? Oh, fuck, I can't remember. Wasn't Michael B. Jordan, was it?
Yeah, the Morpheus, a younger version.
No. No, this isn't a younger version, it's a reboot, so it's going to be the new one.
All right, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, it might be actually, because I'm sure I've read that. Now you just said his name. Because he seems to be popular, doing it since Creed and stuff.
yeah. Was it Michael B. Jordan?
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
I think it was. Because I looked at that and I was like, yikes.
So do you reckon they get Reeves back into it?
They'll find a way to bring him back in, because even though his character's dead, he's not dead, because like the one is code at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
there'll definitely be some kind of.
They've got to get back into it, get him into it somewhere, because they say, like, he's popular at the moment, Reeves. So if you're going to do a Matrix film, you need that big headliner, don't you, main actor, and then
Yeah, I don't. I think he'll be like a cameo at best, but they will try and tie it back into the original films.
Yeah, yeah.
And if I'm honest, it's like, do we really need it?
I don't know. Considering how the last two films were,
Yeah.
probably no, because I think the first film's still a classic, isn't it? Even though it's like, what, 20-year-old now, 1999.
Yeah.
Still a classic
And
film. That.
to be fair, the Wachowskis haven't done anything anywhere close to being as good as that. I mean, Speed Racer was just garishly kind of like, oh my word. I know some people like Speed Racer, but it's bad. I think it's purposefully meant to be bad. And then there was that, was it Jupiter?
Oh, Ascending, is it? Something?
Ascending, yeah.
Oh, with from Ted.
Mila Kunis and Channing Tatum, who, yeah.
Gambit, he was supposed to be rumoured to play Gambit for many years.
That's not happening.
That's gone now, that.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be good to see which way if they do it, see which way they go with a new Matrix film.
Did
you ever play the games? Is it Path of Neo and Enter the Matrix? Did you play
back in the day, and I just remember them being really buggy.
Yeah. See, I never played. I think I've got one of them here somewhere, but I've just never got around to playing it. Can't remember which one it is now. I think it might be the Enter the Matrix, I think. Because they're kind of set in between the films, aren't they, if I remember right?
Yeah. There was Enter the Matrix, and then there was the Matrix Path of
Neo. Yeah.
I think I played. Yeah, Michael B. Jordan. There you go.
Yeah, I thought it were.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't see him being the right fit, because he's like he's gifted. Yeah, he's a gifted guy physically, isn't he?
Yeah.
And if they're going down the route of the one, I just can't see how anyone could be that ripped. Living on fucking that slop that they were eating on those films. They need some. For me, I think they need someone who's a little bit less kind of like physically athletic. Yeah, because I mean the thing about Keanu Reeves, even though he's skilled in everything he did, he's not. You look at him and you're like, that's not an action star. Do you know what I mean? You just look at him and you're like, oh, all right, okay, fair enough. But this guy, he's built like a Greek statue. I mean, you see him in fucking as Killmonger in Black Panther, and he's just muscle on muscle on muscle. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, same for Creed as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I have big reservations about rebooting the Matrix, because if you think of the Matrix, what do you think about in terms of action?
Think of the bullet time, and that scene with on the rooftop where Keanu Reeves leans back, and then you've got the scene as well with the pillars when they're shooting the pillars, and he's jumping around, and Carrie-Anne Moss is jumping around doing that cartwheel over the bullets.
Yeah.
So Keanu Reeves as well.
You think about the Matrix in terms of the action and everything that made it special at the time. So it's bullet time, like you've just mentioned. It's the wire fu stuff, like you just mentioned, with Carrie-Anne Moss flipping around. Neither of which are technically demanding or impressive nowadays. Bullet time stopped being impressive maybe 2 years after the Matrix. When bullet time made its way into Scary Movie, you're like, we need to stop doing bullet time now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's been overruled, because it was used in every fucking action film that came out after the Matrix. Charlie's Angels did it. fucking just so many swordfish with fucking Hugh Jackman.
Yeah,
You
that
know what I
one.
mean?
That what's that other one we mentioned a while about that? That kung fu film that pissed take when he's fighting that
Oh,
kite.
Kung Fu Hustle. No, Kung Pao. Kung
Kung
Pao.
Pao, that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, it's one of them. Bullet
Same
Time is not.
with the X-Men films as well. I'm sure it's been chucked in there as well. Bullet Time a few times.
Yeah. So you take that out of there. Wire Fu stopped being interesting because that was overused as well.
It got used a lot in that was it Crouching Dragon, Hidden Tiger thing, was it?
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Yeah, but at least they would try to be artsy with it. They were taking it back to kind of like, the original roots of the Wire Fu stuff
Yeah.
because that's where it came from, like Hong Kong cinema, didn't it? So you had Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, you had Hero, you had House of Flying Daggers, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Again, it's not impressive today. What is impressive is actual fight choreography and hand-to-hand combat, like we see in John Wick. And
yeah,
I mean, when John Wick's doing it this good, what's the Matrix going to do? CG isn't even that impressive nowadays. So what is the unique selling point of rebooting the Matrix? Because we damn know for sure that it's not the story, because there was only one Matrix film that had a decent story, and that was the first one.
First film, yeah.
When they tried to expand the mythos of the Matrix in the second and third film, there were interesting elements there. Don't get me wrong, but it was executed really poorly.
Yeah, even the CGI in the second film was shocking when he's fighting all the agents as well on the streets.
Yeah,
a bit rubbery. When he's fighting with the pole and stuff like that, the post, and he's hitting with the post.
Yeah, when it went full CG in the Burly Brawl, it was. But I mentioned this on Facebook a couple of weeks ago because I rewatched the Chateau fight scene, and I rewatched the motorway chase from Reloaded, and they both stand up as really decent action.
Oh, with the twins, when they get chased by the twins, is it?
Yeah, and the Chateau fight scene with Neo against the Merovingian goons. They both still hold up really well. But it was just kind of like the philosophizing that was going on in Revolutions and Reloaded that kind of got a little bit pandering. It's like, are you just trying to show off now? Are you trying to show off and say how smart you are because of all these books that you've read and all of these kind of like elements that you're pulling from? Oh, look, you've read this and that and the other, and I don't want to be kind of like, I just want a film to entertain me. Yeah, broaden my horizons in a gentle way, but don't do it to the point where I feel like I'm actually dumb for not knowing certain things that have been kind of like, thrown up, the certain concepts that are thrown up there and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I think it's coming though, because you said them Wachowski brothers or sisters or whatever, they've been...
Just the Wachowskis. Just keep
it. If you've heard things on the internet, there's rumblings going on around now, so it's going to be coming. And with all this modern day stuff as well about reboots, kind of like continuations of films. Like, I don't know about RoboCop, weren't they doing a new RoboCop set after the original film as well? So
yeah, but Neil Blomkamp is a fan of the original films, and he's promising
he'll probably do it justice. Yeah,
he's saying that the original suit will still be in there, and he still wants Peter Weller to play the character. So
I think Peter Bell will return as well, won't it?
Yeah, well,
for one last crack at it, maybe.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, I feel like Neil Blomkamp's got a better chance at doing it than what happened with the remake, but
oh god,
yeah, I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that I think there's a place for it. I think again, it's one of those, we've seen it now. We don't really
do something fresh.
Yeah, in the same way that I feel like Terminator, the time for Terminator has kind of come and gone. It's no longer relevant. I don't feel. Because
I think it died after Terminator 1 in 1991, was it? I think Terminator 2, sorry, after 1991. I think that was it. Just leave it there, end it. Don't need more.
The more you try to kind of fuse the idea of Skynet and Terminators with the internet and AI and all that, modern day AI or what we know about it nowadays, the less it holds up. It doesn't work. Those elements do not fuse together because they weren't meant to fuse together.
Yeah.
In 1984, when the first Terminator came out, the internet was not a thing. So kind of trying to make a square peg fit into a round hole there, or however the saying goes, with trying to shovel the internet and that into the Terminator franchise like they did with Genesis and to a lesser degree Terminator 3 and all that kind of. It just doesn't work. So
just leave it be.
Well, I mean, evidently they're not. So we're getting one from Tim Miller in a. When's that out? Is that next month or the month after?
Yeah, Tim Miller's the Deadpool guy, isn't
he? He is, yeah.
Who's the guy with Mad Max? That's George Miller, is it?
George Miller, yeah.
George Miller, yeah.
Yeah. Him of Mad Max and Happy Feet. Oh.
Yeah, bizarre that, wasn't it? He did Mad Max, the original trilogy, and he went up and did Happy Feet. And
he did Babe as well, didn't he? Sure he did Babe.
Yeah, he did, didn't he? Was that early? I don't think I was still at high school when that was there. I think that was like mid-90s, wasn't it? So he's not really done anything since Mad Max trilogy.
7th November. Well, he did Mad Max Fury Road, didn't he?
Yeah, well, yeah, I was going to say after he did Babe and Happy Feet, it went on to Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah.
Yeah. But still, he did that justice.
Speaking of which, I've just actually got the disc of Mad Max Fury Road. Now, I've never bought anything from Music Magpie before, but they had a deal on the other day, so I was flicking through. It was like 2 Blu-rays for £3.
Oh, yeah, nice.
And I was like, well, you can't go wrong for £1.50 a disc. And I picked up Mad Max Fury Road, which I didn't have. I just had the digital version. I picked up The Losers.
Oh, the Bruce Willis.
No.
So who's that one?
Are you thinking of Red?
Might be, yeah. I've seen it around Losers. I might be getting confused.
The Losers came out at the same time as the A-Team and feels very similar. It's got Zoe Saldana in, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Idris Elba, and Chris Evans.
I don't think I've seen it, but I've seen it around.
I like that film. It's not a good film, but I like it. It's got a fun energy about it. So I picked up that, and then.
So that Mad Max, and what was it though?
Mad Max: The Losers. I got Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition, and I got the Wonders of the Solar System documentary as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I got those. Cause I think 2 of them were £5. So all in all, I got 4. I got a documentary and 3 movies for fucking £2 a piece. Can't complain at that, can you? And when I looked at the discs, because I was like, "Ooh, I'm not sure about the discs." When I looked at the discs, there's absolutely not a scratch or hair on them. They look absolutely brand new. The only problem is, like, the Losers case has obviously been traded in at CEX because there's an old sticker that's been peeled off on front, and you still get a little.
You could just swap that with another case or something you've got, or whatever you've got a spare case.
Other than that, the discs look absolutely fine. Yeah. So
I think as well the Blu-ray discs seem to hold up well better compared to DVD discs, I think.
Yeah, well, I think one of the selling points of Blu-ray back in the day was sorry, I shouldn't be messing with the cases on the microphone, but one of the selling points of the Blu-rays were they're more durable. They put an anti-scratch coating on the top layer of the discs. So they were supposed to be much more durable than DVDs.
Yeah. It's same with PS2 games as well. You pick up PS2 games because of the DVD disc, they all scratch the bugger. But when you
don't get me wrong, I have scratched Blu-ray discs in the past because I'm looking over on the floor. I've got a discarded Iron Man 2 Blu-ray case. You
could swap that with your Losers case.
I could, yeah, because I scratched a disc on that, so I ended up having to rip the disc. And try to save the movie, but it didn't work, so I just ended up downloading it. But yeah, I have scratched Blu-rays, so they're not indestructible, but they are definitely more durable than a normal DVD.
Just sticking with Mad Max Fury Road as well. They released the black and white edition as well, didn't they? Like they did with the Logan.
Yeah.
Have you seen that version?
No, because I like the color scheme in
Fury Road.
Fury Road. So. Because I watched it at the cinema in colour. I didn't go and watch the black and white version of it. So I thought that's what I'm going to stick with. Because I liked, like, certain scenes were shot with, like, certain colours. Like, at night time it was like a greeny colour. And, yeah.
Was it IMAX? Did they shoot it in IMAX?
I don't know. I didn't watch it in IMAX.
You didn't watch it in IMAX?
I would think it was 4, because that's the new fad now, isn't it? It's like 3D's gone away. Somewhat, and the new fad is like formatted for IMAX, even though some of them aren't. Like the Avengers films were pretty much all shot on IMAX and stuff like that now. And the 3D versions of the Blu-rays are released open matte, so there's no black bars top or bottom.
Yeah.
But you can still get like the 2D versions, which are closed matte and the 2:35:1 aspect ratio. But yeah, I've not been to the IMAX for too long. I need to I need to go to the IMAX, but
Or the one at Manchester.
yeah, I like it. It's a ball like fucking getting decent seats. That's the only problem with the IMAX there.
Yeah, I've only ever been there twice. I think I mentioned this on a previous episode. I think it was, what did we watch? Star Trek.
Yeah,
Star Trek Into Darkness, and what was the other one we watched? Oh, what did speak of the devil? It was Terminator, the
right.
Genesis.
Yeah,
Yeah. Enough said about that film anyway.
yeah,
Star Trek was good anyway. 'Cause the scenes in space when he's flying through space as well, when he's in that space suit and he's
yeah.
got
On the
the
Blu-ray, they open out.
yeah, they were really
And
good in
and
IMAX.
they go open out. So yeah. Um,
Yeah,
it's
but
like I say, it's just a ball like buying tickets. Well, not so much buying tickets, but getting decent tickets
decent
because
seats.
the screen's so big. You have to sit towards the back in the premier seating, and the premier seating is obviously book. Well, it's allocated booking, isn't it? So
Yeah,
they go first, and then the rest of the seats are all kind of a little bit too low down. So I like to be literally like maybe 2 or 3 rows right from the back because when I go to any cinema, I like to sit bang smack in the middle of the auditorium, like absolutely bang as close to center as I can get.
yeah,
Because when we worked at the cinema, um, having conversation, I don't know if it was true or not, but having conversations with like Tony up in projection, he would say like if you sit too close to the front of the screen, like the picture becomes more blurry. And I was like, well, how does that work? He's like, because like the image density, you know, and the focus of the lenses are actually optimized for people sitting further back or something like that.
yeah,
Plus, also, just from a personal point of view, I like the effects of the surround sound. So if you sit at the back of a screen, you don't necessarily get the full kind of directionality of the sound. You get so if something's coming on the sound channels towards you, you'll get the effect of like the sound moving towards you, but you wouldn't necessarily get the effects of the sound coming behind you because the speakers at our cinema were mounted high up, so they are
yeah.
actually
They were.
projecting the sound towards the middle of the screen kind of. So the optimal place to sit in the cinema for me, just to have the best viewing experience is as close to central as I can get.
But at the back,
No, not at the back, just in the middle,
in
like
the
in
middle.
the middle
All
of
right.
the room. Yeah, wherever the room is, in the middle of the room.
Yeah,
So I'll book the same seats when I go to Cineworld in Bolton. I've kind of got the screens down now because I've been that long, been going that long.
yeah.
So depending on what screen the film that I want to watch is in, I know what row to book. And it's only kind of like annoying every now and then if someone's booked the seats that I normally sit in. So screen 7 and screen 8, I'll always sit in like F20. So any of you cunts out there book F20 just to piss me off, don't do it. Now that I've said that. But yeah, I always sit in F20. At a push, I'll sit in G if F is booked out. But I don't like sitting too close to the front. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I always get C14 every time I go.
Is it?
Yeah, I think the ones in Wigan at Empire are pretty small screens as well. They're not the biggest ones. So every time I've been going, I've always just said C14 up. No, you've noticed that on the tickets what I post on Instagram sometimes. It's
I
always
haven't.
same seats.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
look now. So yeah.
Yeah, I think last time I went though for Spider-Man, the guy said, "Well, you want to sit?" And I walked to the screen and said, "Yes, C14." And then when I got in, I sat on me at C14, and when I looked at the ticket, he put me C13. I thought, "Oh fuck it, I'm sitting here at C14. I'm not breaking my tradition." But nobody was sat on my row anyway, so it was all right. But just another annoying thing, I want to watch Spider-Man. I had two guys behind me kicking your seat all the time, and I just thought, piss off.
Yeah.
You know what I
I'd
mean?
have to turn around and say,
the guys were, but there was about our age, I'd say. They must have been in the like mid-30s or something like that. And obviously, he must have been catching it by accident. But I think you'd know if you're catching somebody's seat in
yeah,
front.
if you
know what
catch
I mean?
it to maybe 3 times, you're like, oh shit, and then
Yeah.
like once you get to the 6th, 7th, 8th time, you're like, for fuck's sake, we
Kind
just
of,
got
I expect it off a kid or something like that. You know what I mean? But not when it's off like full-grown adults.
Yeah.
Should know better. But yeah, and I think he did it once. I think he did it once, and I thought, yeah, he's probably just brushed past it with his foot, and then did it the second time, and it was like a big kick, and I just like kind of looked round, and then I think he might have done it once after that then, but
Yeah.
yeah, and he got up and went for a piss as well, and I thought the best scenes are the action scenes are coming up, and he's gone for a bloody piss. You know what I mean? It just and then later on, it was funny actually because a kid came into the. I was watching the film, and a kid came into the cinema and started walking up the steps. And I clocked him, and I thought, I didn't see anybody walking down the steps to go to the toilet. Where's he come from? And he must have gone into the wrong screen, because he was having a look around for his aisle, and he must have thought, oh, my dad on that here, or my friends or whatever like that, and he ran back down. He must have been in only about 10 or something like that, if I bless him. Yeah. So, right, we've got to get back to John Wick.
Yeah, whereabouts were we? Oh, yeah, so we had the fight through the catacombs, which I said looked amazing. And
he's had that scuff, and they've gone into the
and they've gone into the
hotel,
Continental, and just have a beer or a glass of bourbon. And I can't remember what Cassian drinks, but there's obviously history between each other because they know what each other drinks and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So after that, John kind of like is given safe passage because he gets a phone call off Santino, doesn't he, saying that I can't let the fact that you killed my sister slide. So I'm gonna have to. And John just hangs up on him because he knows straight away that Santino's going to double cross him, which he does. And John's just kind of like, whatever, and just fucking hangs up on him. And Santino then puts like a $7 million bounty on his head for killing his sister, even though he sent him to kill his sister in the first place. So he is absolutely, an absolute fucking scumbag, isn't he? Yeah, real fucking shithead.
Yeah.
So.
And there's some good scenes coming up as well when he's walking through it's like a tunnel and a subway or something like that.
Yeah, well,
the woman with the violin.
Yeah, well, the manager of the Italian Continental, he sees the fact that this bounty's been placed, so he gives John safe passage out of Rome, doesn't he?
That's it.
And obviously Cassian's kind of like trailing him out of the country, so he's getting back into New York, and like this bounty's gone active. So you've got the woman with a violin, and you got that big sumo dude.
Yeah, Honda with a suit on.
Yeah, and then that's that scene that you were mentioning with the subway where he's shooting his silence gun up against Cassian, and Cassian's shooting his silence gun down.
Oh yeah, taking pop shots at each other. Yeah,
as people are walking past them, completely oblivious to the fact that bullets are being shot.
Yeah.
So that kind of stretches credulity a little bit, because it's kind of like, surely someone would notice weapons being shot, even if they are silenced, because silencers don't work that way. Guns that have got suppressors on them, they don't fire silently.
Anybody who's played GoldenEye in the N64 might realise that.
Yeah, but it just goes back to the way that I was saying about the theory in the first John Wick, that these are kind of like demigods battling it out in the realms of mortals, and mortals aren't aware of what's going on. They're just completely oblivious to the war that's going on directly in front of them.
Yeah, maybe you're saying that because you mentioned this about the lightning effects, didn't you, in the first film as well?
Yeah.
But there's a good scene as well, though, when he fight the woman with the violin. She shoots John, isn't she, in the stomach and the side.
Yeah,
she puts up a good fight against John.
She does.
So does the sumo wrestler, sumo character, because John shoots her in the head and she's still bloody alive.
I think it's a he.
Is it a he? Oh, yeah. Right, and he's still alive.
Yeah.
And then John gives her.
I don't want to assume the sumo dude's gender, but I'm pretty sure it's a guy. Yeah, he definitely takes her.
Yeah, but there's a good scene after when he takes on the violin woman. He's walking off, and he walks past a fountain. So the fountain's spraying the water up, and as the water goes down, is there on the other side Cassian, and just staring at each other, him and John.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, right, let's get it on, kind of thing. Oh, and he takes out the guy, doesn't he, with the pen, with a pencil.
Yeah, we actually get to see John's skills with a pencil. He takes two guys out with a pencil, I think.
Yeah.
This one, yeah. Or is it two pencils? I think.
Doesn't he stab it in the wall or something, the pencil, and it sticks in the wall, and then he...
No, he just puts it up against the wall and slams his head against it. But before that, he slams the guy's head down, and then he puts the pencil in his ear and drives it down into his ear. Yeah. And then he getting chased because he's a bit busted up at this point, John, where he's been shot, he's been wounded, and he gets on the... Did he get on the train, the subway train? Yeah, so they're getting on the subway, and Cassian's there, and they have the fight, and John ends off putting the knife into Cassian's heart in just the right spot that the blood will still keep going around, but Cassian removes it.
It bleeds out when he'll die.
He'll bleed out, and he says, call it a professional courtesy.
Yeah, but he said that, didn't he, when they were having that drink together in the hotel? He
Yeah,
said that to John, didn't he? When he got
yeah,
it.
because he said, "I'll make it quick when I kill you."
Yeah,
Call it professional courtesy, and John just says, "I'll try and do the same."
yeah.
Um,
That was a nice little scene, that as well. He didn't kill him as such, did he? He left him
yeah, and
sat.
then Cassian just kind of like sits there and just kind of smiles to himself as John walks off the
Yeah.
subway. But then John, finds a bit of sanctuary, doesn't he? Because
Or
he
with the
goes
trap
to,
with the homeless people.
yeah, the homeless people take him to Lawrence Fishburne's character, the Bowery King,
Mm.
who runs kind of like the underworld, so to speak. Like if the High Table and the Continental is kind of like, I don't know, what would they?
What was they kind of like? I don't know the.
But he runs kind of like the dirty underbelly to the city, doesn't he? So he's got an entire kind of infrastructure of homeless people who,
Yeah, the life and grime.
yeah, they infiltrate. Well, they gather information and they take it all back to the Bowery King. So he knows everything that's going on in the city through all these homeless people who are otherwise kind of like ignored through daily life, but they hear every conversation that's going on the streets. So I thought that was actually quite a nice little concept that they introduced into this world as well.
See, I didn't even know he was in this as well, Lawrence.
Well, I saw the trailers, so he's
But I could stay away from the trailers ever since John Wick. I've just thought I want to just
yeah,
watch the
it's
first
probably
film
a
and
good
then
idea.
yeah, it's in for John Wick 3 as well. I've not watched any trailers for that because I'm just gonna. Well, obviously now it's finished at the cinema now, so I'm gonna have to wait for catch it, stream it or something, and then we can cover it on the future episode. But I've just been avoiding all the like trailers and stuff, any pictures of John Wick 2, just so
Yeah.
I didn't want to get spoiled or anything.
They leaned very heavily on the trailers into the line where he's like, "Will somebody please get this man a gun?"
Yeah, I think as well though, I didn't have an idea, but I just had a hunch. I thought, would it be nice when I was watching the film the first time? I thought, would it be nice, or if he turns up in this story, like a little like connection from the Matrix, and to see them two back on screen together as well. And
Yeah.
it was just and then he turned up, and I thought, whoa, that's a coincidence. Just I was thinking that, and I had no idea that he was going to be in it, but it was a nice little thing to see.
Yeah, it was good seeing them together because it's like the first time that they've worked together since the Matrix film. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's obviously a friendship and a chemistry between these guys because I was reading that Fishburne refers to himself as Fish, and he gets people to call him Fish as like his nickname. Yeah, and he was talking to Reeves about John Wick, and he said like he loved the films and all this kind of stuff as they were working on the script for Chapter 2.
Right.
So he sent over the script for Chapter 2 to Fishburne with the note saying they want you to play the Bowery King. And he's apparently on the same day he just sent a message back saying I'm in, comma, fish. That's all he said. I'm in, comma, fish. So simple as that. That was a done deal.
Yeah, good.
So, but I completely got sidetracked. That scene going back to the assassination of Gianna. John goes to the bathroom. Apparently, that was supposed to take place in like her home or bedroom or something like that, and the scene wasn't working. So Keanu Reeves actually came up with the whole scenario of it happening in like the baths at that nightclub. He went to the director and said, "Bear with me here. It's going to sound a little bit weird, but what if, John goes to her and then she commits suicide and all that kind of stuff." So Keanu Reeves actually made that suggestion for that entire scene, how that played out. So do
you reckon he came up with the catacombs as well?
I don't know if he came up with the catacombs, but he definitely came up with the whole bath scene and her.
Well, it worked anyway. That whole scene worked
because they wrote that into the script, storyboarded it, and they said that it just worked from that point on because it felt very much in keeping with the world that they were building. Like, the world's got its own set of rules, and all of these characters have got their own kind of like set of moral rules and their own moral compass. And she would absolutely not kind of like lay down and just let someone kill her. So she was defiant to the end. Anyway,
but when he's speaking to Lawrence's character, does he give him something like, is it 7 bullets, and it's like $1 million bullets?
$7 million. Per
bullet.
$1 million per bullet. So John goes to confront Santino in another art gallery, and I think he kind of like headshots 7 people in like 3 seconds.
Yeah,
Uses
but
every
then he
bullet up, doesn't he?
takes their guns in, and he starts using their guns because they're out of ammo.
Yeah, and that was something kind of like different as well, because it's not just another action scene where he's going through mowing people down. He's got a limited supply of bullets in this scene, so every person that he kills, he's having to actually scavenge their weapon, pick that up, and use that. And because they've been shooting that gun at him, he's got maybe, 3 bullets in one gun that he picks up, or 5 bullets in another gun. So he hasn't got an endless supply of ammo. And that just adds another layer to the action in this as well.
Yeah.
And I just love the casual way that he picks up one gun and he slides the chamber back to check if there's a bullet in the chamber already, and just fucking, it's just, yeah.
Yeah, because when he turns up at the museum as well, he's just walking through the crowd of people in there, and then he spots John walking towards him, and he obviously knows, and that is John's comfort to take him out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then doesn't everybody step back, and there's like a little bit of a
everyone steps back, and then he does the like 7 headshots in like 3 seconds kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then he manages to track Santino down into this exhibition that's just kind of like mirrors, and
it reminded me a bit as well of the Enter the Dragon Bruce Lee, because the scene in that where he fights the guy.
That was a knowing kind of inspiration for that. If you go to the director's commentary, they say that's
right. Yeah, well, you can tell, but I didn't even know that, but I just thought it must be like a reference to the Enter the Dragon.
Yeah, it's absolutely meant to be a reference to the mirror scene in Enter the Dragon.
Well, it works anyway, because I didn't know. I just obviously suspected that, and I mean, I got it from it.
Yeah, of course it does. And again, it goes back to this kind of, playing with the reflections and all that kind of stuff in this film. And what happens after that? Oh, so Ruby Rose, who is like Santino's bodyguard, she has a bit of a scrap with John. Her character is called Ares in this.
Yeah, she's mute. She doesn't talk. She
doesn't talk, no. But
sign language.
Obviously, her character Ares is kind of like calling back to the Greek mythology themes of these films again. She is mute, and it's interesting that her character uses a silenced weapon all the way through the film as well.
Yeah.
So,
John doesn't kill her though, does he? Does he keep her alive?
Well, he doesn't kill Cassie either, does he?
No.
So there is kind of like a professional courtesy going on here. But he doesn't kill her. He just, what does he do? He stab her through the hand, and then
he just walks. Then he says something to him and walks off. I can't remember now.
Yeah.
I mean, remember that part with the mirrors as well. The mirror scene. You've got who's the main villain? Who's called now? What's his name?
Santino.
Yeah, you've got him doing a voiceover.
Yeah, he keeps talking to John.
Yeah.
Just skipping forward to it now, yeah, because there's bits where like you don't know what's coming from where because of the way that they're shooting it. Yeah, he's just slamming a guy into the mirrors there. What I find interesting with like this whole Hall of Mirrors thing is like every shot where there's a mirror and the camera's like directly in front of the mirror, they would have to go in and digitally remove that camera.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And
you're bound to catch the camera in one of them mirrors, aren't you?
Yeah, there's a lot of kind of like impossible kind of camera moves in this if you think about it, because at no point, like, they're not even afraid of putting the camera directly in front of a mirror because they're just removing it out of there.
Yeah.
But I really love it. Like, after all of this is all finished and Santino's kind of like escaped and John's done with Ruby Rose's character, there's a shot where like Keanu's walking directly towards the camera, but then you find out it's not the camera, it's a mirrored door because the door opens and then it cuts to him walking, and it's like, oh shit, how have they done this?
Yeah, there's a scene as well though in the mirrors where John's walking through the mirrors and he's got his pistol out there and he sees a reflection of some guy with the gun.
Yeah. And he just shoots the mirror to his side.
Yeah, the guy shoots at John, but it cracks the mirror on it because he thinks that John's obviously there, but he's not. And then John just turns to his side and shoots the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's a scuffle with the guy at the bottom of the steps as well.
Yeah. And all the TV screens have got like flames on them as well, so I don't know if that's kind of like alluding to kind of like John's trip into hell or something like that.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, could be right. I mean, there's a few headshots in this at the art gallery in the mirror scene as well. Yeah, there's a guy. Yeah, there's a good few. There's a guy where I think it's in the gallery where he's got in the museum. Where he's got. I think John's got his foot behind somebody's head and he shoots him.
Right oh yeah.
There's a scuffle with him on the floor.
Yeah, just watching the bit now. Yeah, it's the bit where you just mentioned. And she's running off now. I'm getting kind of sidetracked by watching the action. That's how good it is, even though the film is kind of like so. I've got it on mute. I've just got it on the TV in the background. I'm talking to you. I'm getting kind of like
it's the
drawn into the film.
You're a brilliant film.
Yeah. It looks amazing. This whole scene just looks absolutely amazing. And again, these impossible camera shots where like the mirrored doors are closed. Ruby Rose's ass. She's got a good ass.
Look, Peach and she, I'm just up to with scuffing now. I'm a lot of fight.
She's actually. I mean, it goes without saying, she is actually really, really, really like pretty.
Oh yeah, very much. She'd go with a knife, though, wouldn't she? Taking John on with a knife.
Yeah.
John breaks her arm.
She's Batwoman, isn't she?
Yeah.
I don't like the look of that because like I said, the cowl just looked wrong, and the red fright wig on the top of the cowl just didn't look right for me. But
right, so he stabbed her in the chest now, John, and then he.
So he does stab her in it because I know he stabbed her through the hand and then stabbed her through her chest. I must be a couple of seconds behind you. Yeah.
He's taking a gun now. Yeah, he's taking. Pistol. Yeah. I just want to see what he says to her because he's walking off now, and he turns round. She says, "Be seeing you."
And he's like, "Not if I see you first."
Yeah. He said, "Sure." That's it. Yeah, sure.
Right. Yeah, there you go.
That's it.
So Santino's hightailed it, hasn't he? And he's gone and retreated to the safe grounds of the Continental.
Yeah, because he knows that. Well, he says something about, you can have a breakfast here or something, get fed every day, because he knows that he's going to stay there for forever, and John can't do anything about it.
Yeah. Well,
he's a bit of a coward in a way.
He is very much a cat. That's that shot walking through the doors that I was on about, where it just kind of like it opens, and it's fucking awesome shot. Yeah, so I mean, John doesn't give a shit anymore, does he? So he just fucking shoots him dead in the Continental.
Oh, mid conversation, in it, when there's like, John, don't do anything now, John, not here, kind of thing.
It's the same way as he finished off Joseph in the first film. Joseph was just like, it was just a fucking boom, dead. Doesn't even like get his senses out. Same kind of thing. And I know, like, John had that conversation with Santino back in the gallery when he was telling him he wants to kill his sister. He's like, "You're thinking about killing me now? How would you do it? Would you steal that guard's gun?" He's like, "No, I'd do it with my hands." And even though he doesn't kill him with his hands, I don't think he really cares. Like, the thing is, if John wants you dead, you're gonna die. It doesn't matter how he does it. The fact is, he's gonna kill you.
I put maybe because John's learned from the mistakes from the first film as well, because he should have killed.
Possibly. Yeah,
he's that lad in the first film, and obviously he didn't kill him there and then.
But he knows the stakes as well. He knows the stakes of letting Santino live, because obviously he's going to get the place on the high table, and he said he's going to take over New York, because that's how he convinces the Bowery King to give him a weapon, isn't it?
That's
like,
it, if he takes me out, he'll take you. He'll come for you next.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah, basically. I mean, this one scene where he shoots Santino in the head, shoots him dead, stone dead, basically sets up the next film, doesn't it? Because he's broken the one sacred rule of the Continental, which is no business to be conducted on the...
I love that. The ending scene as well, when he meets him at the fountain there, and then everybody walking. It's kind of like, it had a bit of a Matrix feel about it as well, because he kind of like, everybody stops, don't they, and look at John.
And it's like that scene with the red woman, isn't it? Where he's like, "Are you listening to me, or are you looking at the woman in the red dress?"
That's it. Yeah, and
I think that's got to be a bit of a call back, hasn't it?
It's got to be. It's got to be. As you said, there's a few times, I think, we've both got like picked up on other films from this film as well. Watching this film, like you said, Enter the Dragon, and then you got the Matrix as well, like that. So there must be little callbacks, definitely. Especially, definitely. But when I watched this the first time round, and he said, "You've got an hour," to John, "You've got an hour," kind of thing, and everybody's going to be coming for you. And then as John were walking off with his dog, and then he started running because everybody were getting a text message saying like he's take John out now. and John were running off, I was just thinking, fucking hell, like, I mean, well, on the third film, I don't know whether or not the third film goes that way. Can you continue straight from it? I'm not sure, but I was just thinking, fucking hell, I'm ready for the third film now. This is one of the best.
Well, that was one of the things that annoyed me about the trailer, because in the trailer you have that line with the Bowery King saying, "Can somebody please get this man a gun?" And then also, like, one of the last lines in the trailer is like, what he says to Winston. He's like, "Tell them, whoever comes, I'll kill them. I'll kill them all." They put that in the fucking trailer, and it's like, why? Why? Because all the way up until the film, if I've seen the trailer, all the way through the film, I know John hasn't said that line. So it's either been cut out of the film or it's still coming, and all of a sudden it's still coming. And it's just kind of like, oh, for fuck's sake. So you just put the ending of the film in the end of the trailer. And it drives me insane when they do shit like that. Thankfully, it doesn't kind of like spoil the film, because you just think that is a threat that could have been made, potentially halfway through the film. But when... after you've seen the film and you know the context of it, you're just kind of like, why would you do that? Why would you do that?
Bugs me that when they spoil the films with the trailers.
Yeah, so it is annoying.
But it said with my benefit as well, I never watched the trailer, so I just watched the film, and then I didn't know the ending was coming, so I watched it. I was like jumping around thinking, fucking hell, I can't wait for the third film. Bring it on.
I like just before we get to that point, John goes back home, doesn't he? And he sifts through the rubble of
he finds
so there's a bit of foreshadowing there, because obviously he's sat in the rubble of his the kind of like the remains and the rubble of his everything that he built in his life, and it's pissing down with rain with him, and then he finds like his wife's his wife's necklace in there, so he still has something of his wife there. But obviously the foreshadowing that's going on there, he's in the ruins of his old home, and it's pissing down with rain. You know that bad stuff is still to come, and then obviously Caron comes along and picks him up and takes him to Winston. That's when Winston gives him
excommunicado.
He makes him excommunicado, and tells him that he's got an hour. Winston's exercised his right, and he's been able to delay excommunicado status for an hour, so because John's got an hour
because he wanted to, own it.
Yeah, that's right.
So, yeah.
And I'm not spoiling anything because it doesn't really go into it, but the next film literally picks up right at the end of this film.
So, right, and what? So he's basically running.
Yeah, pretty much, mate. I absolutely love that about the chapter 3. Even with this, I mean, this takes place like 4 days after the first film.
Yes, they're kind of like in sequence, aren't they? Yeah.
Literally, John Wick 3 could take place 4 minutes after this film. He's on the run. So
see, I was worried that with John Wick 3 that it was going to be set something like, I don't know, like say a year after or something like that.
No,
so we'll never find out. But I'm even more buzzing to watch it now.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they're doing it, they've done it that way. It gives a sense of immediacy to the story. Kind of like it does make you. What happens next? And I can't wait to see what happens because they've announced number 4, because I want to know what happens at the end of number 3 leading into number 4, and that's purely because they're keeping the time frame for these films so close together. And it feels like it's all one big film as opposed to 4 separate chapters. It's one big... I think that's why they're doing it in the chapter stages. It's like reading a book. You're just going from one chapter to the next straight into it kind of thing. There's not going to be a silly kind of like 5 years later kind of thing. This is, dealing immediately straight after. And it's a good thing that Keanu Reeves doesn't seem to fucking age between these films, because... doing that, if he aged 10 years between 2 films, it'd be like... doesn't really happen 5 minutes after, does it? He's obviously been drinking from the fountain of youth.
Yeah. I mean, how many films do you think they can get out of this? How far do you think they'll go with it? Up to like 6 or something?
I'm thinking 5. I'm thinking 5, because, like I say, my one criticism of the third film is by the time you get to the third film, the story is not the strongest, and I think that's purely because the story of the first film was so strong. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think the story of number 2 is great. I like the world building, but the action, they've definitely dialed that up to 11. Everything in the second film has improved. The look of it looks absolutely stunning, this film, and that's down to the guy who shot it. He's worked on I think he's worked with Guillermo del Toro on a couple of films.
All right.
And Guillermo del Toro has not made an ugly film at all. Dan Lautston, yeah. So I think he worked on The Shape of Water, which looks amazing. Have you
Yeah.
seen that?
Shape of Water. No, I don't think I have yet. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did work on Crimson Peak.
Like Pan's Labyrinth.
No, I don't think he
No.
works on that one.
Hellboy.
No.
No.
Those are the two that he's worked on with Guillermo del Toro. He worked on Solomon Kane, which wasn't a great film, but I thought it looked good.
Yeah, that's a bit of a bizarre one, that one. Yeah, because it has a good look at the film. You're right, and the main actor in that as well. You remind me a bit of Hugh Jackman, Wolverine,
Kind
longer.
of.
Yeah, he looked
Yeah,
like
I
him a little
get
bit.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, James Purefoy. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I get that. He also works on. Oh, you'll like this one. He works on Darkness Falls.
Oh, there you go. There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
Brotherhood of the Wolf back in the day. He works. He works a third time with Guillermo del Toro on Mimic back in 1997.
Oh, Mia Savannah, is that something?
Yeah, that's the one. And he also worked on the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which is a terrible film, but I actually quite liked how it looked.
Is that the Sean Connery?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. It's a shit film, but yeah, what can
Do
you
you know
do?
that part at the end as well? Just going back to this John Wick. You know, the part when everybody stops still
Yeah.
in the street. It looks as though it comes across like everybody around there is an assassin. Everybody in New York at that
I
part.
think they've addressed that and said that they're not all assassins, but they're all kind of in the employ.
In the loop
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah, they're all in the loop, but they're not all assassins. But that is the reason they did it that way is because they liked the allusion to
The Matrix.
no, not the Matrix. The Matrix, but they also liked oh fuck me, Body Snatchers, where you're not sure, where everyone in the world has been turned into a body snatcher, and
You're
then
not sure
they
who
all,
is and who isn't.
yeah, exactly, they all turn around and they all look and they're all like, that kind of
Yeah,
thing. So
that's a brilliant film. That.
yeah, so it's nodding back to that as well. So I like that.
Yeah, and it was the scene at the end as well. There's a few different scenes in there. It shows the different characters through what we've met in like John Wick 1, John Wick 2. You know that John, what's he called? The surname I always get the Italian name. The guy with the cars. Leguizamo.
Oh yeah.
He gets a text, doesn't he? And you've got Orange Fishbone getting the text as well.
Yeah, so they're all aware that the bounty's going on.
Yeah, so are they going to join? And are they going to try and take John out in the third film? This is it, because I don't know. You've obviously seen it, and probably some of our listeners have probably already seen it.
I am saying nothing.
Yeah, keeps it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think, like I say, I think this film is. I think you're right. It's definitely one of those sequels that lives up to the first film. It's not as good in the story department, but I liken it to.
Is that because the story was so good in the first film, do you think?
Yeah, because it was so simple. So the way I see the relationship to John Wick and 1 and 2 is John Wick 1 is the Terminator 1. It's a very small kind of self-contained story, which didn't necessarily need a sequel. And then John Wick 2 is Terminator 2. It ups everything. It brings the action and it expands the world, the story, and everything. And it brings it all out. Which one's better is down to a matter of personal preference. I would say Terminator 1 is a better film than Terminator 2 because it's so simple, so pure, and it's just a cat and mouse chase film from start to finish. And you know what I mean? It's a perfect self-contained film. However, Terminator 2 is one of the greatest films that's ever made.
Yeah.
On a technical level, on an action level, everything. It just takes everything up to the next level, kind of thing.
I think for me, Terminator 2 over Terminator 1. I think it's just because Terminator 1.
I just
aged a lot more now.
Yeah, I get that, but I just prefer the simplicity of the story in the first film.
Yeah. I think
the fact that it's just a chase film, and it's got a relentless kind of energy to it. It doesn't fucking stop. And it was absolutely terrifying back in the day, because
and it was ahead of its time as well.
Yeah, of course it was. You got this unstoppable fucking creature coming at you. Whereas John Wick 1, like I said before, it's just a self-contained film. Everything's resolved by the end of it, and it didn't need a sequel. However, we got a sequel, and they did the Terminator 2 on it. They took everything up, not just by a notch or two. They just ramped everything up to the extreme.
Yeah,
The action is phenomenal. The choreography is phenomenal. The way it looks is phenomenal. The music is amazing again. Although I still prefer the nightclub scene in chapter 1 to the
you've always been fond of that scene.
to the Vivaldi scene.
But the catacomb scene in this though.
Yeah, but the music's just not as good in that. Whereas they tried to use in the shootout at the gallery at the end, they used Vivaldi, but they did a remix on it. So like the percussion of the music is in time with the guns again. But I just don't think it works as well as the nightclub. I could sit and watch the nightclub scene on repeat. I've said that before. I could sit and watch the nightclub scene from the first film on repeat over and over again. I think it's just so well put together. But everything else in this, you've got the gun fu, you've got the tactics that John uses by laying out, the weapons where he knows he's going to need them. All of that just kind of like it enriches his character. He's not just a dumb killing machine. He knows exactly what he's doing ahead of time. He's probably had military training. He's not just kind of like this mythical figure that is really gifted at killing people. There's actually a level of intelligence behind what he does. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. It explains all of that without explaining it, and I love it. It's just kind of, it's show don't tell. I love it. But yeah, it's one of them. And yeah, you've got one more film to look forward to so far, mate. So.
Can't wait. Yeah, well, we'll no doubt do chapter 4 as well when that comes out.
Yeah, but we'll have Bill and Ted both before then, mate. So we've got a little bit of time to wait before that comes out. Yeah,
just thinking as well, Keanu Reeves is the most. I think we've covered his films the most on our podcast because we've done Bill and Ted, we've done John Wick 1, John Wick 2. I think he's leading. He's beating Michael J. Fox, believe it or not.
Well, he's got one more to come as well. So, but that said, that could change because obviously we've got Simon Pegg and Nick Frost coming as well.
Oh yeah.
They're going to have 3 films pretty soon. Yeah. However, before we get to Hot Fuzz, which is still coming, folks, next week we are going to be recording with Dean from Jump Cancel Podcast. So the next podcast after this one will be
Star Wars.
Yeah, episode 1, The Phantom Menace, which I'm sure it's probably not the Star Wars that you want us to cover, but it's the one that you're getting. So
yeah, we're gonna. I'm thinking we're gonna cover them all, aren't we, all the time as well? Because with Dean being a special guest, his pick is Star Wars Episode 1. So
yeah, I've got a sneaking suspicion. I know Dean wants to do like the prequels, doesn't he? So I've got a sneaking suspicion that Mr. Manning will want to do the original trilogy. Yeah.
Well, maybe we could get Chris on as well, and Dean at the same time, and 4 of us can do the originals. New Hope and Empire and Return.
I can only imagine how fucking long those podcasts would be if there was 4 of us on it. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we'll just have to cut to the chase and just get to the film.
Yeah, we'd have to rein those boys in.
We still.
It probably gets to fisticuffs actually because I know what Chris is like.
Yeah. Well, what between you and Chris?
Yeah, Chris will be fucking winding me up on something or other. So.
Yeah, we need to get Chris back on for Lord of the Rings as well.
Yeah.
Finish that set off, and cheers to people who downloaded the latest episode as well with Damien. What we did, the Brain Dead episode.
The Brain Dead episode, yes. It's not got quite as much love as I thought it would have, and maybe it's a little bit too niche, but go and listen to it.
Yeah, we had a blast recording that with Damien as well.
Listen to it. Show it. You never know. You might rediscover something that you never knew that you wanted in your life. Yeah, and coming from me, who wasn't the biggest film on the rewatch, But if any gorehounds out there, go and watch Brain Dead if you haven't already.
And we've also got another special guest lined up as well sometime soon. We don't know when yet. Andy Goddard.
Oh right. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, what have you been planning behind my back? I think he's softening on his stance about actually coming on the show, isn't he? So.
Yeah. Well, he's not going for a Christopher Lambert film anyway. We know that.
Yeah.
He couldn't do that to you, could he?
Well, he could, and he probably will.
He probably will do a later date.
Let's face it, Damien's already changed his mind on the film that he wanted to do, and I was looking forward to the original, but you know.
Who knows, though, with Damien? We might end up getting Sex in the City season 2 or something like that. Because he had that sat on his shelf, we remember.
It's safe to say that will never be covered on this podcast.
Yeah. Well, we'll chat about it if the actresses get the clothes off. We'll mention it then, but
no, they're all about fucking 75 now, aren't they? So
yeah. But at the time they weren't.
Kim Cattrall was quite a hottie back in the 80s. I'll give her that.
Yeah, well,
Sarah Jessica Parker's never been a hottie.
I've never been a fan of her.
She's always had a face like a foot. Cynthia Nixon is like redheads. I have like redheads are my kryptonite. I have a thing for redheads. I'll be honest. Right. However, Cynthia Nixon does absolutely nothing for me whatsoever.
Right. So I bet you was in your element with Jean Grey then on the X-Men.
No, natural redheads, mate.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Yeah. What was the other one? Charlotte. Who played Charlotte? Kristen Davis. She was quite cute.
Sure. I think Kim Cattrall back in the day, like Big Trouble in Little China and Mannequin. She
was
always pretty hot in them films.
She was.
So
yeah, there's some fun stuff coming up.
And you just dropped your recent 4 commentary track, haven't you?
Yeah. Fuck me, I was dizzy after watching that. All them Dutch tilt in that. So I'm thinking when we get to Avengers, we'll have to get everyone on. So we'll get Chris on for the Avengers. We'll do like a podcast crossover like the Avengers.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's some good episodes coming up, people.
Yeah. Right. So I think that's it, isn't it? John Wick Chapter 2. Definitely go and watch it. It is the Terminator 2 to the Terminator 1 of the John Wick series.
Yeah.
That makes no sense whatsoever, but, you know, I think it's kind of...
superb film. Superb.
Yeah, easily one of the best action films ever made.
And that ending as well, I think you just...
Yeah, it's got a nice cliffhanger ending on there, even though we've just told you what the cliffhanger is. But if you haven't seen Chapter 3, then you don't know how it resolves. So, you know, it's one of them.
That's me.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back to watching Stranger Things now, because I haven't watched it before. I didn't get the hype around it. I tried watching Stranger Things when it first came out. Was it 2016?
Yeah, I think it was, 15, 16.
And I got up to like episode 5 and I'm like, this is too slow. It's just, I'm not getting into it. And I'll be honest, I'm on episode 3 going into episode 4 now. I'm still finding season 1 really slow. So I'm hoping by the time I get to like the last couple of episodes, something significant is going to happen.
It does pick up. It's definitely season 2 does pick up. It's, if you're a fan of the Goonies, I think it's like a kind of a cross between something like the Goonies, Ghostbusters, Silent Hill. It's kind of like all that rolled up into one, I think.
Yeah, I was looking for all of that, and I was just kind of like, beyond the references of like seeing the kids with a Millennium Falcon or a Thing poster on the wall, I was just kind of like, I'm not getting what everyone's raving about. And like I say, I'm still struggling, and then struggling to get my words out, but I'm still struggling with it now. But I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to see if I can at least get onto season 2.
Stick with it, because there's only eight episodes per season, so it's not as though you've got like 20 episodes per season or anything to sit through. You've got
this is my problem, because like normally with a TV show, I'll say if it's not got me by the 5th or 6th episode, I'll bin it off. But that's my rule on that. Was most of those TV shows were like 22 episodes long. You know what I mean? So yeah, but with these, I think I'm finding it's even slower going, because there's only 8 episodes in a season or something like that. And I got up to like episode 5 or 6 last time, and fuck all had happened. So
just stick with it. Believe me, season 2.
Okay.
Season 2 all the way, yeah. So I've only just started season 3 myself, and we just mentioned off mic before that. I started on season 3, sorry, episode 1, and I just had a few sound problems. The sound started all right, and then it dipped, and I couldn't hear anything. So I'm gonna have to wait. Well, try and stream it somewhere else, because my Netflix account has been cancelled, and I'm a bit of a cheapskate anyway, because I was using somebody else's Netflix, and they've cancelled the Netflix account. So instead of paying that £5 a month, I'm trying to watch it on something else and stream it. So I'm just gonna.
Well, just do what I did, mate. I think I paid like 20 quid for a VPN called Surfshark. I set up my account from Netflix through Turkey, so I pay like 28 Turkish lira, which is like £3.50 a month, And I can also, through the VPN, access the American Netflix.
And the UK.
UK, Canadian one was working the other day. So yeah, there's a few different libraries that because all you do is swap the country around on the VPN. Some of them don't work because they've been blocked by like Netflix, but there's always a working American one. I've never had an issue accessing the American one. And the Canadian and Australian one works from time to lots of films on the Australian one, like newer films as well, stuff that hasn't been out that long.
All right.
So it's weird how different countries get like different types of content depending on whereabouts they are.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
John Wick. Just saying, John Wick 2. Check it out, people.
Yeah, definitely check it out. That's it. So there will be Star Wars coming soon, Phantom Menace, and I will have another MCU commentary out in the next couple of days.
Which one's next? What have you got next?
It's Captain. I'm up to Captain America: First Avenger.
Yeah.
That'll be the next one.
Don't you know that one?
Yeah, I'm trying to do them on a weekly basis, so they're coming out every week. So hopefully you guys will have something before next week on the commentary side of things. So thank you very much.
Yeah, and this episode will be dropping soon as well.
Yeah, this will be out in a couple of... Well, you'll have it when it's out, so there's no point me saying it'll be out in a couple of days, but they'll be out. Thanks to everyone who's listened so far. Keep an eye out for the next episode, and until then, we will see you soon.
Bye.